We've had a lot of people show us a lot of different things, and the stuff that you showed us was unique. I've never really seen before. How is he getting people to move like this?
Big men moving like ballerinas.
This is a plyometric system with emphasis on the nervous system.
This training must make people feel like a monster.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have any of your athletes do squats with their heels on the ground?
No. You go to the field, and what does the coach say? Get on your toes. Fire up your toes, blah, blah, blah. And then we take them into an off season for 6 months, and we say, on your heels. The goal of athleticism is not to hypertrophy.
If you see an athlete walking with straight feet, is he like better than the guy who's walking with his feet ducked out? Or
Yeah, I won't say better. I will say safer, potentially.
I don't necessarily know if you have to lose muscle to get that back, but how can an athlete learn to use their muscle and use their body effectively?
If you just do static stretching, it's not good for the joint, especially in explosive sports.
do you think jumping down from stuff is a decent place to start, or is that not a good place to
Jumping
start?
down is the key. Violence is necessary to keep people healthy.
Stuff like this is just an Achilles waiting to explode. Why isn't that happening?
I have a very high outlook of myself in this, but until I win championships, it doesn't matter.
I'm a little nervous about what happens when Brian has a Monster Energy drink. He's already bringing that energy in the gym the whole time, man.
Yeah, man.
Nsima, you were saying?
Yeah, no. We were just talking about sprinting and sprinters, and a friend of mine sprinted at UC Davis when he was younger. He was very fast.
Yeah.
And one thing he was telling me recently, he's in his late 30s now, that a majority of his track friends and even himself, they're all just broken. Like their hips, their back, everything is like super tight, super sore. They don't have the ability to recreate the type of explosive ability they had in their early 20s when they were athletes. And I just wonder, like, what are these athletes missing to maintain that health, you know?
You know, I didn't talk about this. The kinetic chain or the kinetic energy that has to go into the ground has to be, you have to add that eccentric element. So that's going to be on like a 50% extra output than he would giving, or the input is about 50% more tiring than the output. So when these guys are forcing their foot into the ground, if they can't absorb through the pressure, they're jarring the joints. So like a lot of, and I disagree with this, and so this is one thing I get a lot of controversy for, is dorsiflexion. When the athlete is striking through the ground, the absorption phase is very important. You can either cushion the joint if you have good shocks, or you can destroy them if you have bad shocks, hitting the ground that hard, that violently over and over again year round. And so it goes back to what we were talking about today. The foundation. Doesn't matter if you're lifting, doesn't matter if you're playing baseball, doesn't matter if you're running. If my foundation is pinpoint, if it's good in every element, if you can absorb, if the toes are strong, if the dorsiflexion is fast, not just strong, but fast, and all the timing's there, you're not going to have those issues. There are runners that get out in there fine. And then you have these guys with these reoccurring ailments, but you don't see that in a 9-year-old, like we were saying earlier.
Yeah, you don't see it in young kids.
You don't see it in kids. It's the big guys out there tearing and pulling the hamstrings. And they are. That's really funny because, and I never really thought about it like that, but it's not a contact sport. It's not soccer. But they're just...
We've had a lot of people show us a lot of different things, and the stuff that you showed us was unique. There are things that I've never really seen before. I'm sure it's probably the same.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what drew us to you was that what you're sharing on social media is different, but it also, like, it's not good enough just to be different. Like, you're not going to get on this show just by being a wacko.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was different, and then I was seeing like the foot speed people were having. Yeah. And I think Nsima and I were sharing it every once in a while back and forth, and we're like, what is with this guy? Like, this is unbelievable. How is he getting people to move like this?
Big men moving like ballerinas, dude.
That got the hairs on my back raising when I see that. I mean, that just the sound of that. Oof! Look at a big boy.
Yeah.
But in watching a lot of this, growing up and playing football and doing football drills, and yesterday Nsima was doing some drills on the turf. It's like, man, I want to get back to doing some of that stuff, especially because I feel so good from running. So it's a big reason why we brought you in here today. But where did you get some of this base from?
Okay,
where did you start to learn some of this stuff?
So I am a Marinovich guy. Gary Marinovich is my primary mentor. I started kind of in the strength conditioning. I was just doing rogue stuff. I was actually doing more baseball relatable stuff. So this guy brought in his son. He was like a highly touted quarterback, and he was going to, like, all these schools were trying to pull him out of the middle school ranks and stuff. And so when he comes in, he says, dude, you got talent. You need to do this. So he brings in all these football guys. I'm like, dude, I just ran a throwing camp for 2 months. Like, and now I'm supposed to, what am I going to do with these guys? So I'd already been looking at the Troy Polamalu stuff. And I was like, that is so amazing. You know, I want to try some of that. And so when they came in, I just said, okay, screw it. I'm just going to take my money that I made this summer and just buy this equipment. And I hadn't talked to them or anything. I was just looking at videos and trying to duplicate it. And they start getting better. Watching
videos of the Marinovich?
Yeah. Stuff, yeah. And so all I had was basically jump ropes, some of the foot products that we kind of experiment with today, and the balls. That's all I had. I had no strength work, none of that.
And Gary Marinovich has been doing this from like the 80s, right?
No, well, this actually started around like the mid to early 2000s.
Oh, okay.
This actual strength. But this is basically Marv's life's work. So he was looking for this perfect system from the 60s. So Marv was actually the first strength conditioning coach ever hired by the NFL. And the NFL Combine is actually predicated off most of his research. That's how they came up with those drills. So he didn't think those systems were good enough to keep up with the Combine systems and maximizing athletic potential. And that's where the research came, because he went back to USC and he was like, well, every time I'm looking at these athletes, the best lifters are the worst athletes. And so that means the drill has to be counterproductive to what you're doing on the field. That's where it gets dangerous. It's like, I got to get you strong, but if the strength of the move is not powerful, then I put you in a situation where it could lead to an imbalance. You know what I mean? And so this is really important when we're training athletes. Like, where are the imbalances? You know, the Marinoviches, the first thing he taught me was an evaluation system. So I kind of take everything from there. So the first thing we did today was I evaluated your feet.
And what does that do? Does that give you an ability now to see what the athlete's going to be able to handle? Like, where are we starting at, right?
Yes. So I'm not putting you on a box if dorsiflexion is a 1. So if you can't pull your foot back strong enough, no boxes. You know, so if one of those guys would have been extremely deficient where they couldn't budge me at all, I wouldn't have done that today. So he was a 3 walking in the door. This guy's a monster, 4 as high as you can get. He was a 3, but he was having reactivity problems. So that's still dangerous, but he should be okay on that surface of box.
He's been practicing your test for the last 3 months. Researched it.
Been cheating, though.
Doing it in his car. I want to podcasting.
Yeah, but it was really interesting even to look at you, Coach. With you guys are, I mean, I was not gonna lie, I walked in the door, I'm like, these guys, it's a little intimidating. These guys know their stuff. Y'all were talking, I was like, Jesus Christ. So, but I knew that, you know, we can all help each other in different ways of forms of athleticism. So I was interested to see, you know, when I saw the elastic qualities, would it carry over? But neurologically, you're not there. That's the issue. And that's, like, if you look at old Marinovich stuff, the first thing he says is, this is a plyometric system with emphasis on the nervous system.
Is there a small difference between, like, neurological and just, like, mental? You know what I mean? Because, like, for me, when you asked me to do certain things, I was like, I don't know if my body can do that. So it wasn't just the firing of, like, my central nervous system. It was like a little self-doubt in my head.
Yeah. I got an athlete right now. He sees projections and he thinks he can't get to the point because in his mind he wasn't able to reach it. So if I throw a ball over there and I say, go get it, right? You throw a ball right now. And I know I've tried that 100 times. I've never gotten there. I'm going to kind of stalemate myself.
I think something from watching him is like, I think that you always feel like you can get there.
Yeah.
You're like, I can do that, and I might be able to make it look better than the rest of the people here.
But that's important. There's a lot of people that have that athletic insecurity. And so if I tell you to do something new, it's like, you know, I tell you to twitch, you went all in, right? And so a lot of people are like, what? They're going to second guess every move. Well, what happens if that happens on the field? You see, so if we don't base the training around the brain and getting rid of those athletic insecurities, it's trouble. You know,
Andrew, do you have a clip that Brian sent you? He texted you a clip. I don't know if you had an opportunity to look to see, but anyway, we can get to that in a little bit. But that's just to give some of the people listening some context to the Marinoviches and some of the work that they did with BJ Penn.
I didn't send it. Look up BJ Penn.
Okay.
Train with Marinovich. Yeah, it should pop up.
Look that up real quick.
And to be honest, they were calling, I believe at this point, they were actually calling this Isokinetic Training. This is not an isokinetic system. This is a plyometric system at this point. We've taken all of the isokinetic actions out. So I want to be clear about that because a lot of people look at that still and they think that's what we're in. Well, the issue that's happened in this system, and this is something I really want to come on here and talk about, is we've evolved, especially in the last 6 or 7 years. And I was one of the few guys with Gary when this started. And
guys, just watch some of this shit. This shit's wild.
Yeah, I wish I could get a Plies machine here. I'd show you. See, we only do it that way faster now.
Wait, you said like, is this a reformer?
Yeah, we use a reformer.
The second guy that came on and talked about Pilates. Let's go.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we actually, what we'll do is can you roll that back?
Of course.
We'll stand where Marv is at right there. We'll stand on the ridge there, and we'll take that box off, put the foot on, and then we'll actually do a lateral and bilateral side kick and catch the platform coming back. So we're loading the eccentric coming back, and so you're getting that the abduction quality and the adduction quality at the same time, and you have to transfer it fast.
Yeah.
So it's a hip builder.
This training must make people feel like a monster.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, the kid on there, the Argentinian kid, his name is Marco, and he was just, his feet were faster than probably most of my NFL guys. He's 15. He came in with riddled with injuries, tape all up his leg like a war vet. And I said, take the tape off.
Andrew,
let's get the joint right.
You should be able to find a pretty good compilation.
Okay.
It might take you a few moments, but
it's okay.
Let's just ask him questions while we're waiting for that to get pulled up.
The first thing that you did was you assessed our feet, and you told us, we've been talking about feet for a while on the podcast, but I think since you get in there and you have all these tests for seeing how strong people's feet are, what is it that you notice the athletes who come in that maybe they haven't been paying attention to what they do with their feet, or they've been wearing shitty footwear and being super athletic? Because it's surprising to me, like, you even see NFL athletes that have really fucked up feet. And what do you notice with these people?
I've seen guys come in literally and the toes don't move at all.
And that's a problem, you believe?
Oh yeah, they don't move at all. So I got to push off the ground. I got to contract, right? Once I go into that dorsey action off the ground, I got to push back with something, right? Well, there's 14 joints in the toes. A joint is built, you use a joint for power. You see that?
Let's just watch a couple of these clips just for a moment. Sorry for the people that are listening, but we're just watching some. It's important to give context to some of these training methods because they are.
I train with this guy.
They're different.
Look how on the toes they are, even on these though. See, everything's mapped out.
Very rapid.
Pause real quick. The shoulder thing that was happening there, that's what you were having me do that in the gym. So what's going on and why is that happening? Because
so you're dealing with a ball and socket joint, right? And we're always talking about like hip dexterity and things of that sort and making sure we can supinate and pronate and things like that. You have the same joint in your arm, right? If you notice, even with all the refined lifting you got done, you probably heard some popping as you're going around, right? That joint should be as clean as a whistle. You see what I mean? So we're going to clean that motion. We're going to clean that joint out, and then we're still developing the stretch strength. But you remember what I was talking about, your relaxation.
Yeah.
So as soon as that hand closes, everything else is going to lock up in the joint, right? Well, I don't want to train jiu-jitsu like that. I don't want to grab people like that. I don't want to throw a baseball like that. So it's very important in these positions that the relaxation quality is implemented. That is a great shoulder drill if the details are there.
Got it.
So his hands have to correlate.
Yeah, in sport, I think we don't really think about how complex some of these movements are. But even something like sprinting, we were talking earlier, you're seeing these kind of one-legged hops. There you go. There you see the kicks.
Yeah, that's Joey. I trained with this guy with Gary out in California. Yeah, he's a normal guy. And Gary took a normal dude, I swear to God. Gary took this dude and turned to an absolute monster. When I first saw him, I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna make it in this field. When I saw what Gary did with him. But now I got a bunch of athletes that can perform at that level.
His heels aren't even close to when he was doing that cone drill, he's fucking on his toes.
Yeah, yeah. And remember I told you earlier, I do a thing called no sound.
Oh my God.
So literally they're tippy-toeing through the same drill. So they can only use the highest point of the foot. Look at this. Look how high his heels are. Yeah. Look at the jumping. Look at the squatting.
So where did these guys learn some of these methods? Because again, this is stuff's unique.
Dude, my goal is to be the best at this, right? But man, I just don't know how Marv came up with this stuff. It's just unbelievable to me to think about this. So he basically, let me tell you, so the background is he learned from a guy named Yuri Voloshansky. It was a physicist. So what they did was they took his research on plyometrics, and there was these principles that were like detailed principles you have to do for something to be plyometric, right? So one of those things is your transition timing, right? So you have to implement this, and you only have 0.15 tenths of a second to transfer force. If you don't do it in that time frame, you start to lose power, right? And that's just science. So he basically took that science, got really acquainted with it, and then created drills around it. So he learned with other people, alongside other people, and then others, like even the water.
Yuri Vershansky that you're talking about, I believe he wrote The Science and Practice of Strength Training, which is one of the greatest books ever written on strength training.
Yes. And so what they basically did, they took the whole plyometric principle element and created their own system. So we want everything. So when I first started, we were doing this supercat machine. They were showing the red one that was pushing up.
Oh, yeah.
We were doing that with no weight for years. Now we got guys bench pressing 200 pounds on that machine. We have, and my boy here is so strong, it's ridiculous. We did that on the eccentric, and he had some trouble, right? Well, we took that same machine, and what I learned is if you stick to the principles, the 0.15, and you build them up over time, these guys will start lifting monstrous amounts of weight. So I got guys squatting 250, heels up, getting off the ground.
And Nsima, are you excited? Like,
yes.
I'm like
He's smiling. I'm so pumped about this.
Yeah, this is so cool.
And it's fun. Shit is fun, man. I mean, like, people want to come work out. I had a mom, we had a 6:30 class, this 6 a.m. class this summer. And the mom said, I said, how the boys like and how you looking on the court? She's like, they're looking great, coach. She said, but the craziest thing is they ain't complained about getting up one day this summer. You know, that's so.
I have a quick question because, like, you know, recently, do you have any of your athletes do squats with their heels on the ground? No.
Everything is from the forefoot.
Okay, why? So. Because, like, I posted about this a little bit recently. We've talked about this with multiple people, but a lot of people are like, why are you guys trying to do this different stuff with strength training? This doesn't make any sense. So why do you have your athletes do that?
Regroup. Okay, so so funny to me, man. Like, that's a great question. So we go into these modalities, and then you go to the field, and what does the coach say? Get on your toes. Get on your toes. Fire up your toes, blah, blah, blah. And then we take them into an off season for 6 months, and we say, on your heels. It sets off a whole nother, I mean, it just seems so simple, but you set off a whole nother range of muscles at that point. Your soleus is not comprehending the same way it is when you're engaging the toes. It's different. So I'm going to sit there for 6 months and build around a modality and an angle I don't even use. That makes no sense.
Yeah, how's your knee reacting when your calf is flexed versus not flexed?
That's right.
And your hip and so forth, right?
I mean, and literally stick your hand there and feel the difference in the patella.
Yeah.
Literally, just stick your hand on your patella, flex, and go down. It's different. And so I don't know why that's so hard for a lot of coaches to understand. And I'm like, man, if you're just gonna squat, I'm not telling you, you can do whatever you want as a trainer, you know, but Lord, if you're training high-level athletes, put these guys in their position. They're gonna have a lot better chance of going out to camp and not getting hurt the first week. Because you go watch, this is what people are not paying attention to. How many of these high-level guys are going out in the first 2 weeks of camp and pulling stuff? Soft tissue issue, they're not hitting right now. They're just starting to transition into hitting, and they're just going to play the first preseason game. They don't hit anymore in the NFL. Most of it's thudding up.
Yeah. And
you're still seeing 10 guys getting hurt the first 2 or 3 weeks. A team. It's weird. That's
a lot of money.
Yeah.
A lot of trying to figure out who's going to play, who's going to start, how are we going to make it.
Hardest job in America, NFL strength coach. Because you get blamed for everything.
Oh, man.
If you have knee pain or lower back pain, the initial thought is that it's probably coming from the knee or the lower back. But have you ever thought that it could actually be coming from your feet? Most people wear shoes like this. They are narrow, they are not flat, they are inflexible. So it's almost like your feet are stuck in casts all day long. And if you imagine that your hand was stuck in a cast all day, well, your fingers are going to become weak, but then your elbows might start feeling a little bit wonky because your fingers don't move, and then it might travel up your shoulder. That's the same thing that happens with your feet when you put them in normal, inflexible shoes. That's why you want to throw those out and start using some Vivo Barefoot shoes. They have shoes for hiking on their website, working out in the gym. They have casual shoes like these Novices right here. But the difference with Vivo is that they have a wide toe box so that your feet, like my wide-ass feet, can spread and move within the shoe. They're flat so that your feet are doing the work when you're walking, and they are flexible so your feet have the freedom to move the way they need to move so that they can be strong feet. That's why you want to get yourself some of these. And Andrew, how can they get it?
Yes, that's over at vivobarefoot.com/powerproject. When you guys get there, you'll see a code across the top. Make sure you enter that code at checkout for 15% off your entire order. Again, that's at vivobarefoot.com/powerproject. Links in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
Guys, look at this.
Ooh, look at that.
I could stick that in my mouth.
Do it.
I'm not going to do
Come
it.
on.
That's disgusting.
Okay.
No. Get him. I think that's actually, I have a question too. I think one thing that makes people a little bit turned off to it is the safety aspect to it. They think, okay, if athletes start doing that, well, this athlete's going to get injured because, like, look at how the knee's moving, look how deep they're getting into their knee, like that. So how do you gauge where, I guess, to start an athlete with some of this stuff? Because maybe their feet aren't ready to start doing some of the things, right? And that's what your assessments are for, I'm assuming.
Yeah. And so, like we talked about, there's a gauge there. So I have a middle ground on the foundation. I know that, okay, he can't do this. It doesn't matter what you say or what you want him to do. If he can't hold a 45-degree angle, he just can't hold it. Then the next thing to assess is, okay, if he can, how quickly can he transfer? Because that's still a part of being in alignment. The big thing with these athletes, if you don't have the foundational backing, it's very dangerous at that point as a trainer. You know, and so I really think that manipulation, it's really an art project. Like if I take one of you guys in, I say, I'm going to train you for jiu-jitsu, right? I have to understand the sport. I have to understand your body first. So if we don't build a solid foundation, and that starts at the foot, if we don't start that, everything else up the chain is kind of going to be lingering. You know, you said the first thing you felt was when you were on that slant board was like, man, I feel like everything is opening up in my hip. Well, yeah, you have a fascial response up the foot. And when you're on there barefooted, struggling around with your toes, we see some things there. So when I take you in a jumping, I know if this is a 13-year-old girl, no dorsiflexion, she jump roping. That's as far as she going to take it. And we're going to progress from there. The violent jumping you're seeing from my athletes, those guys been me 3 years, some of those guys. Yeah. You know, so this is I wouldn't do that with a grown man. You know, I don't take NFL athletes and do that. They're going to jump rope, and they're going to jump rope perfectly.
What about maybe some pressure from parents? You know, you have my son doing cleans. You got him doing box jumps.
Yeah. The first few years, yeah. I was like, you going to lift them too? And, you know, Texas is. You going to get them in there and get them big too, coach? We got to get them big too. Yeah. So, you know, we're big on that, Texas. And they do gain muscle. That's the thing. They do. I had a girl gain 7 pounds.
You were working hard.
Yeah.
Andrew and myself, when we were doing those exercises, I mean, you're recruiting a lot of muscle fibers.
Your mind builds muscles. You know what I mean? Like your mind builds, even with lifting. If you don't have the right mindset behind the lifts and know how to like incorporate, engage, and manipulate the muscle during the contractional periods, it doesn't matter. It's the same thing we're doing. We're just building longer muscles. So these
mindlessly doing your sets is going to be less effective. I mean, I think most people can get on board with that.
That's right. And so that's another reason why feet out, feet in, feet out, feet in, side to side, blah, blah, blah. You're always thinking. You're always re-engaging and engaging.
Yeah. There was one thing you mentioned in the gym with that athlete who was on I forgot what machine it was, but you said he twisted his ankle under load. Yeah. But with what you're mentioning, it's like he built so much resilience that didn't injure him. I don't know if you could like tell that again, because I think it would help
to hear that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So I had one of my advanced guys. He'd been there. He actually played in the NFL for some years. But his first summer with me was rough. Like we had this girl in the group. She's actually a coach for me now. We call her the Queen of Power Plus. Every day he's cussing. God damn, how is she so good? She's eating them up and everything, right?
Yeah.
But she'd been with me like since middle school. And so he had stayed with me. He stayed throughout the process for 2 years. I mean, just looked really good. And we get him on the Super Cat machines that we use. And we probably had 130, 150 pounds, somewhere in there. But we had 2 coaches loading down on the eccentric. I don't know if I told you that part. We had 2 coaches loading him down on the eccentric. And meanwhile, behind me in the corner here, head special team coach of the New York Giants, sitting there watching, right? This guy turns all the way over on the side of the foot mid-jump. I just let go of the machine and turned around. I was like, he's done. Guy walks around 5 minutes, gets back on the machine, goes, does another set. That coach, when we got through, he say, hey, come here. He pulls me aside. I've been looking at this stuff for 20 years. He said, if a dude does that in pads, in cleats, they're done. I have never seen anything like this in my life. I've never seen an athletes go in here and roll over and just walk off like that. And that wasn't the only case. He saw a couple of other ones, and he was just like they're like Mega Men in the feet, like what Achilles should have been. So yeah, but that we work on it every day. Mm-hmm. I don't skip a day because I know my injuries have been so low because of it.
Yeah.
You know, and if I could give that to the world for free, I'm giving it to you because, like, man, I hate to see anybody get hurt. You know, like I root for my guys if they're behind somebody. I don't want to see you gain a spot because of an injury. Yeah. That's just I've been hurt, and it kind of ended my career, and I don't want to see anybody hurt.
The drills that you gave us, people will be able to watch it on our YouTube channel, so make sure you check that out. Probably be on the Super Training YouTube channel, or maybe the Power Project. But I find it interesting. Like there's so many different styles of coaching. You know, we've had a bunch of different coaches come in here. Some guys are a little more quiet. Some guys kind of observe. They kind of watch, and then they'll give you some feedback. Some guys are a little louder. They yell. But I found that your coaching was awesome because you're so fired up. You're so passionate about it. Is this something you had to learn, or are you just this way? Like, are you just?
Nah, that's me.
You're just fired up.
Me.
Yeah, you're just pumped.
Yeah, that's me. My wife hates it.
You're like, listen, when someone pushes their big toe down, here's what's happening in their foot. And she's like, oh my God.
And that's the funny thing because I know my wife's like, I know you're ADHD 100%, right? And so, but when I'm training, I can see everything. It's just like if your toes, remember the big toe? As soon as he got on, I start seeing that toe rail, like right toe, big one, you know, down, left toe, right pinky, you know, like it just comes to me. So I think definitely I've been put in this position for a reason. I have a gift. I want to share it with the world, and I want to change sports.
Yeah. You also do an amazing job, honestly, of like, and you were telling us a little bit about this, but you stop people when they need to stop. It's like some coaches, they'll just let the athletes go and go and go, right? Because they're like, oh, they're getting work in. But once you see things diminish, you're like, stop. Why? And how do you apply that to other athletes you work with? What mistakes are coaches making when they're doing this with athletes?
Yeah. So maximizing potential. You know, we have to assess that. Like if I want somebody to be an NFL play is what? 8 seconds? Average NFL play is around 8 seconds. I don't need you to be the best guy for a minute. I need you to be the best athlete in the world for 8 seconds. So I want to maximize the peak range of output for as long as possible. This is where the coach's eye kind of comes in, and then cut the drill right away. If he starts to go into an 80%, 70% modality or range, the brain's going to get used to that. And so get to the fourth quarter, we want to you might, you know, body might say, hey, let's get back into that 70 you showed me the other day. See, if I coach the kid out of that and I don't allow him any other choice, right? How do you even know what that is? You only understand 80% because you've been allowed to go to 80%. You only know 100% if you've been allowed to be in 100% range. So if I keep you in 100 to 90%, you won't know what anything else is. So that's the manipulation game. You know, how do we do that in the strength training, in the ball work, in the footwork? How do we keep that mentality and mindset? I have a quote I kind of use often in my gym. The way you do one thing is the way you do everything, right? Yeah. So there was no difference in you jumping the box and doing a push-up plyometrically. It was all the same. You see what I mean? Nothing changed in your variation. You're super strong. You can resist any force, but you can't transfer it. It's not going to change because you're jumping now. It's your nervous system. Your brain controls that.
Yeah.
You know? So
I mean, on that, like, okay, so like maybe the 8-second range for NFL, but what if you're working with an athlete where they do need a bit more? They need power output over a slightly longer period of time, like like a tennis rally that could go on for a while, right? And an athlete might be able to have to maintain that for potentially 45 seconds to a minute, depending on how the rally's going. So how do you get an athlete to be able to do that at that time period so they don't gas out by 20 seconds?
So I'll take you through.
I know there's a lot there.
There's a lot there. I don't want to give away too much. I got people compete. But let me kind of show you this. Let's just look at conditioning, right? If I was to take an athlete, and I know he has to play a 2-hour game, right? Of course, we have to do something to so he's prepared for that 2-hour game, right? I think the issue becomes is he ready to run 40 sprints the first day? No. Right? But can he run 3? Yes. Can he run 3 at 100%? Probably so if he's high level, right? We can take that 3 all week. You got 3 100s all week. 3 active recovery, 3 active recovery, 3 active recovery. Bring them back, rest them. You're done for the day. Next week, let's go to 4. So 2 things are happening here. It's not only building the cardiovascular or the because with that long of a depth, that's more anaerobic, right? Or aerobic. But if you're playing an anaerobic sport, which is high intensity, short burst, but for long periods of time, you have to equate the 2 and you have to merge them together. Now that I'm not going to share. I'll share with you guys afterwards. But you're going to pay for that one. But that's really where it comes to. It's like the athlete has to build a confidence in conditioning. You're right. So I would take an athlete and maybe like the step up drill. Start them at 5 seconds. Maximize potential at 5 to 10 seconds. Over time, you go up to 11. You go up to 12. But you have to make sure you're eyeballing, and that is really his 90 to 100%.
Yeah.
Keep them maximized. And over time, they will naturally build that out. The body's incredible. We just have to push the limitations.
You don't want any sloppy inputs. So if a person's fatigued, their form might start to diminish.
Compromise.
And then obviously, like if you were to hook them up to some sort of machine or be able to hook the human body up to a tendo unit or something, it might show that they're also losing some force production. And maybe maybe one of the main reasons to do the drill is to have maximum force output. And if it's going, if it's dipping down too low,
you cut it.
It's kind of the same thing with lifting a lot of times. If you miss a rep, like let's say you're doing incline dumbbell presses and you're set to do 4 sets. Well, if you got to your if you just finished your second set and you're going into set number 3 and you're trying to do sets of 10, on set 3, if you're only able to complete 8 reps the way that you wanted to do the 10 reps and the other ones, you probably should move on to another exercise. You probably shouldn't do the next set. Or you can try to, see if you can still match that set of 8, but a lot of times it's not worth it.
Yeah, because muscle recruitment's not going to be as high as output.
Right.
Especially especially when you're in, like, the goal of athleticism is not to hypertrophy. That's a bodybuilder thing. You know what I'm saying? Or if I just want to look good thing, a modeling thing. It's not an athletic thing. Hypertrophy can be dangerous for athletes also.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And what do? Every time they come from high school, I've had countless guys come in. I went to college. They said I needed to gain 30 pounds. And they're never the same. I got a dude, I got to show you that one. This guy squatted 700 pounds at TCU 2 times. He said he never moved like he moved in high school, though. He was getting tackled by everybody. Cornerbacks tackling him. 6'4" running back.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll show you that. He went down twice. He went up, came down, went up again. 700 pounds. I evaluated him, pushed his leg right down on the quad evaluation. Well, why? Because his ligaments couldn't withstand the hypertrophy that he built in his quads. And then he goes out and pulls a hamstring, and then they shelf him.
Well, you got to think about how perfect things have to be set up. Those of you that are listening that lift, like everything's perfect when you squat a 600 or 700 pound squat. You line up with a certain line. You line yourself up a certain way. You brace yourself a certain way. But if you're to randomly, not randomly, but if we're in a sport and you try to tackle me, or I'm trying to move out of the way, and you're trying to tackle me, that's way different than
I think you used a great word there. It is random. Yeah. That's the issue. Sports are random.
Yeah, they're random.
We don't know what's happening. You don't know what pitch is coming, and you don't know how they're going to try to tackle you. You don't know if one guy's diving at your knees and one guy's going to hit you high at the same time. It is random.
Yeah, squat, you don't really have an opponent. It's just the weight. You and the weight. Brace yourself, put a belt on, all that stuff.
So why not make the squat random?
Right. Do it with one foot in front of the other. Maybe do it on your toes.
Coach is switching you half the distance down, quarter the distance, feet out, left foot up, right foot back. Switch it up.
Take a lateral step, take a forward step, take a backward step,
side
squat,
jump, forward jump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not with 700 pounds.
No,
with
no. But yes, I think we got to get more creative. You know?
Yeah.
We got to get a little more creative. These kids they need it, man.
So this is also why, like, you know, even when we were doing the simple foot drills today, you were telling us half circle, full circle, half circle, other way. So you're also trying to get us to be able to respond, our brain to respond to those commands and switch into those things fast. It's like there's a lot going on, and that's on purpose.
If you even look there, there's a variation there. Look how wide the cones are, and then watch when she finishes.
Oh, yeah.
You see that? Yeah, that's what people don't catch. And so those are the little things. So I'll take her even lower than that. So I'll put her in a wide, short, tight angle, medium angle, big angle. And so you got to manipulate them in so many different ranges. See, that's what's going to keep her healthy. And this girl has great, y'all talking about Goda, they love her. Every time my guy sees her step.
What do you think about, what do you think about some of the, not necessarily just Goda, but like just an athlete having their feet more straight and some of these things we hear, like, do they matter much? Like if you see an athlete walking with straight feet, is he like better than the guy who's walking with his feet ducked out? Or
yeah, I won't say better. I will say safer potentially. But then I also think there's a speed factor there. You know, so like alignment is great, but there's also an eccentric alignment. And so if you can't absorb and give off fast enough, you can be in the most perfect position in the world. You're still at harm's way to get hurt. And so we have to look at all the elements of athleticism. You know what I mean? Kevin Grant shot a shot one year, landed. Achilles just exploded landing. Zion's hurt every year. We're like, how? These guys been playing basketball their whole lives.
Yeah.
Do you think a lot of people are getting hurt because I would never say Kevin Durant's slow, but
No.
Would you say that some people are maybe potentially getting hurt because they're maybe slowing down somewhere, or like, you know, like in a tennis match, if you can barely get to the ball and then the person puts it in a strategic spot and you barely get to the ball again, probably more likely to hurt yourself than the person on the other side of the court that's just dropping these perfect shots, who's always on time. In sport, if you're not on time, it seems like you could be in a very dangerous position.
Yeah, I think okay, so we talked about that eccentric action earlier, right? So we need 30 to 40% of the output. We need that enforced into the load. So if I'm oh, my math, but if I'm let's just say I'm squat jumping 100 pounds, I'd want the force going into the move to be somewhere around 140, 150, right? I want to reapply that back into the drill. That is your natural alignment. That's how just you're made as a human. You see what I mean? And you can look that up on Wikipedia. It's on there. Your eccentric is 40 times. So you can bench.
I have no idea. I haven't benched in a long time.
Well, let's just say
400 pounds.
Let's say 400, right?
Yeah,
you can bench,
We'll give them that.
right? But you can't go a stitch over that, right? You can't go 401, right? Can you control 450 going down?
If he practiced it, yeah.
I think he controlled 450.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
pretty
see if
sure.
you can bring up Jen, God, who's a woman with the world
Thompson.
record? Jennifer Thompson. Yeah. Sorry, Jen, if you're listening. Didn't mean to forget you. But Jen Thompson does 500-pound benches.
Holy crap.
She lowers 500-pound benches. Her best
She's like
bench
140?
Yeah, her best bench. I think she's like 120 something, 130. Goodness her best bench in competition is like 319 or something like that. But she does those heavy overloads. She'll, it's crazy to watch too. She'll take the weight right into like the pins and stuff.
You're engaging so much that we don't use there. You know, when the push up into the ground, should have showed you all of this right now. Yeah. And I was doing this literally. That was it. I wasn't like strong arm you anything.
Yeah.
And you are strong as an ox, but if you can't absorb and fire, if you can't receive, it's still a misalignment.
100%.
you know.
What do you think of, have you messed around with using weight releasers before?
No. What is that?
Yeah, weight releaser is like, it's like these hooks that hold extra weight on the bar. I realize not a ton of stuff that you show on Instagram is with a barbell, but you probably still do a lot of barbell stuff. But yeah, weight releaser, as you go down, let's say in a squat, you can set it up whatever way you want. But as you get to the bottom of the squat, the weight is then released off the side. So let's just say you had 225 pounds of bar weight, and the person's max squat is around 230, 240. You have 225 on there. Maybe you put a 25 on each side, and now it's like 270 pounds or whatever the math would be on that. And as they go down to the bottom, that 50 pounds is released, and now they get to come up.
I've never heard of that.
Oh,
wow,
it's nice.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it feels really good. It's only good for one rep because then the weight comes off the sides, but it works great. It actually feels amazing, especially on something like a bench press. You're going down and you're kind of like, oh, this feels kind of shady.
Yeah.
You're like, something's not gonna go right here, but you lower it under control, then the weight comes off the sides, and then poof, you can explode up into it.
Yeah. And I'm gonna tell you something. Like as pure lifters, because lifting is a sport. As a pure lifter, I would really push to athletes that they need to train the eccentric. I would almost have a day for them to work on the eccentric. Things like that are huge, because you go to competition, of course, you're a power lifter, and it's a different story there. Like you're that, like, and you were talking about your relaxation during those elements, but a lot of times you start putting that weight on, you're competing, and all of a sudden you get out of character. And the first thing that's going to go is the stress coming down.
Yeah.
So,
and what do they utilize to rehab people?
Yeah.
They almost people that know what they're doing.
Isn't that funny?
They
like you go to rehab and then all of a sudden it's all eccentric stuff.
Yeah.
But then we're training people and it's all concentric stuff.
Yeah, 6 or 8 seconds on the way down. Maybe a little isometric you might see. Like what's the position you got hurt in? They might have you hold it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's Jennifer. She's so strong. It's just insane.
Jeez.
Yeah, look, 5 plates.
She has a reverse grip, or is she about to flip?
Oh, no, yeah, she's just,
okay, I was about to say.
Yeah.
Man. Jesus.
Yeah, her husband's been training her forever, and she's just completely unbelievable. But she's not just a bench presser. She's a full.
Yeah.
She's a force when it comes to powerlifting in general. Look how long she just held
going
it.
to be holding it.
Oh, maybe she's only holding it on this one. But yeah, she also does some eccentric.
The hand strength, the
wrist.
women's hand. A lot of people don't know. Like, I think they said like she's probably elite hand strength, but an average male is going to have something like 20% more hand strength than like an advanced woman. For her to hold that much weight like that,
she's benching 315. Though, look at that range of motion too.
Insane,
it's not just a
You're right.
Yo,
that
so
is
clean.
she went all the way down
and relaxed.
And she's laughing about it.
Power Project family, if you're trying to increase your muscle mass, if you're trying to lose body fat, if you're trying to stick to your nutrition plan, if you're trying to get fit, pretty much if there's anything you're trying to do for your health, we know that sleep is the biggest determining factor to help you get from point A to point B. That's why we've been sleeping on 8 Sleep mattresses for probably more than 2 years now. And the main reason is the technology behind the Pod Pro. Now, the Pod Pro is like the Tesla of beds. It will change its temperature based off of how you're sleeping during the night. And if you have a partner that's sleeping on the other side, they could have their own temperature settings. We all sleep hot here, and I used to wake up in a puddle of my own sweat.
Gross.
That doesn't happen anymore because of the 8 Sleep mattress, and I've been getting the best sleep of my life. Now, if you don't want to replace your mattress, you can just get the Pod Pro cover, and you can put that over your current mattress to get all the benefits of 8 Sleep. But if you also need to replace your old nasty mattress, you can get the Pod Pro cover and the 8 Sleep mattress. Andrew, how can they get it?
Yes, you guys got to head over to 8sleep.com/powerproject, and you guys will automatically receive $150 off of your order. Again, 8sleep.com/powerproject. Links to them down in the description, as well as the podcast show notes.
Goodness.
I'm kind of going back to what we were mentioning about muscle-bound athletes, right?
Yeah.
That's one thing I noticed after I got injured with soccer. On the field, I was around 210 to 215. But When I got injured, that's when I just started lifting, and that was a focus since I couldn't play soccer anymore. I got it to around 270. When I started jiu-jitsu, I had to do all these things to I didn't realize how much of my athleticism I lost. When I started jiu-jitsu, I had to start doing a lot more mobility, a lot more stretching to try to get range back. And I've been just trying to get back a lot of that athleticism, right? So there's a lot of guys who have been lifting for a long time, listen to the show. They played sports when they were younger, and they want to try to get that back, right? I don't necessarily know if you have to lose muscle to get that back, but how can an athlete learn to, I guess, use their muscle and use their body effectively? How can they get that? Do it safely, right?
Yeah,
How do you do that?
Because you got to watch that, because if you just do static stretching, it's not good for the joint, especially in explosive sports. So I do the ball work, of course, the thing where they're kicking. We did some of that today.
Yeah.
But I do the ball work because you're going to get a stretch reflex from that. So you're going to take the tenet, stretch it to capacity, bring it back. So you look at it like a trampoline. Like, I wouldn't set a trampoline up and put 300 pounds of weights in the middle of the trampoline and walk off and leave it there. The springs are going to get screwed up over time. But if I jump on it, it'll last forever. You know what I mean? Because it's going, and this is it right here. And this kid is, look at, and yeah. This is one of the top running backs in the area.
We're watching a guy. He's got his heel down on an exercise ball, and then he's kind of doing like windshield wiper type thing with his feet.
Yeah. So
Looks
this
like he's relaxing too.
Oh, he is. Yeah. Yeah.
Just cruising right through it.
You remember how your shoulder was coming up on that? And he's a lifter too. He has to lift in football.
Yeah.
But these guys are coming in every day and working on this stuff. So the that's really good. So the output on the stretch needs to be as violent as the output on the field, right? If they can't get it back that far at first, that's fine, but you're getting the stretch reflex. So at least if I go out and run in range of what I'm normally, if that's my range, that's my range. Like, if I can kick my back so far back on that, that's fine. But I'm probably going to run like that too. I haven't released enough tension yet. But at least if I'm violent enough in that area, it's going to be hard for me to go out and run in that same position and pull something. But if I'm stretching slow, I'm stretching static, and I'm not doing anything to engage the stretch reflex, we're in trouble. That could be potential trouble.
Have you noticed maybe particular mindsets with particular athletes that you have? Like, maybe the better athlete, maybe the springier person, you say, hey, I want you to jump down off this desk that's 4 feet high. Maybe the guy that's a little bigger that isn't used to that goes, what? And maybe the person that is springy and athletic, they just do it. There's zero hesitation. Like, they just go right into it.
Yeah, I'm going to have to see something for that. Like, I'm not throwing you on 4 feet.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I got to see.
Of course.
But no, there's no hesitation because I've kind of built them to that point.
Right.
You know what I mean? Remember, we started out today, it was an 18-inch box. I'm going to build your confidence on an 18-inch box. And you're going to be the most proficient 18-inch box jumper in the world. That's how I look at it, You're
not worried about clearing it and stuff.
Nope, don't care. Because all I care about is the reaction time off the ground. That's gonna innate the next box jump over and over and over and over again, right? So if I take the athlete and I build a confidence there, 6 more inches, they're gonna want it. They're wanting it at that point. And then 6 more inches. Because the biggest problem with box jumping, you feel today, Coach, I think so. The falling's it's hell.
You got to condition your body.
Yeah, and the contraction. I was looking at the back of your legs when you're doing it. Your calves were, just pulsating the Achilles as well. So we got to look at, are you ready? So it shouldn't have looked like that. It should look very relaxed.
Right.
One of your guys was, he was getting it. The sound was different. But when I hear a lot of contact and sound, that guy ain't ready.
Yeah.
He ain't ready. You got to hear something different.
Do you think jumping down from stuff is a decent place to start, or is that not a good place to start?
Jumping down is the key.
Yeah.
Yeah. It trips me out because people jump. If you jump on a box and it's this high, what is that really doing? If you just jump in place and do the same thing, get your feet up, it's the same thing. Like, what's the difference? You're actually getting more not jumping on the box because you're going to have to come down and reverse that impact, right? Yeah. So what are we using the box for? We're using the box. It's a depth jump. We want to fall in depth and take the load and reverse it. It's teaching us to run better.
Yeah, and when if I go to jump up on a box, I have as long as I want to produce that force and to do it, right?
Exactly.
But if I have to jump down the way you were showing us today, I got to be springier.
That's right. And this is one thing I didn't say. you jump to run. You see what I mean? So if you thought of your feet like the projection of how fast your feet have to get out the ground, you got to think of jumping the same way. So when you was like, should I go to my heels and come up? I was like, no, it's hot. The ground is hot. So I want to get off. Like I want to see it so freakish. There's a clip if you can find it. It's Marv Marinovich, plyometric box jump. Kind of look that up if you can find it. If you can, it's fine. It's an old clip. This kid, I've never seen anybody get off the ground like this. And then he does it on 1 foot. So it's just the stretch reflex has to be trained into the athlete.
You also don't need a lot of sets and reps with some of this stuff. So if someone's, if let's just say there's, someone who's in their 40s listening right now and they want to get into some of this, would obviously, like, it depends on the person. If you blow out your knee a bunch of times but if you're fairly healthy, can you start by not necessarily jumping, but just work on landing, coming down from like a 12-inch box or something like that would be a good, decent place to start?
I think I think that would be a great place to start.
Just a couple sets, even 3 or 5 reps?
Even a 6.
Okay.
Because you can build a speed component at least off the ground with a 6. The 12 is going to give more of the input. So start there. Like, I mean, like, don't put your body in. It's all about the principle of the action. The principle is I have to reverse it extremely fast, right? If you reverse it in the plyometric time frame, that 0.15 gap, then you build power. It doesn't matter how far down. If you jump way down and you can't reverse it in 0.15, you lose power.
And you hurt yourself.
And we call it ego jumping. That's what you see a lot on the internet. It's ego jumping. You know, like if I'm setting a hurdle up here, that means that guy is ready for that. And if he's storing up to do that, I cut it. So I'm like, you're storing up. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to convert over to running. You don't get to store up and running.
Do you have, I guess, how do you build an athlete's confidence to do some of these movements after they've come back from an injury?
I think the best place to put any athlete environment would be the pool. The reason why is because the pool, I can go right back to all of my natural movement modalities. When you go to therapy, you're going to be in a lot of static positions. Well, it's going to make you, kind of docile to what environment you're going back to. And this is why a lot of people get re-injured. So if say you pull a hamstring, I can do some of this at a moderate speed and put you right back. If I tear a knee, I can get you in the pool after a month.
Yeah.
And you can do all your functional moves in the water because it's going to stabilize you. And so I had a girl got injured in December, came to me. They started pool work end of January, and she played in a national soccer tournament in June.
Wow.
Damn.
And
turnaround time.
Yes.
And do you only use the pool for injury? Oh, there's a pool video up there, Andrew, who's to the right.
Yeah, that one's crazy.
No.
I with most of my moderate guys, the amateur athletes, will go once a week for an hour.
Holy shit.
Look at that. So that's a 100-meter runner. This is what I was trying to tell you. Every time you get a 100-meter runner, this is what happens to the nervous system. Every time you get a cross-country or longer distance runner, it's much slower. We're training that into their brains. And they're laughing at this, but they're not getting it. Why can he move that fast? And some guy just flew in one day and he was moving just like that too, but he runs the 100 in the SEC.
So yeah, like what is, you had me doing this shake on the ball, or I think you called it a neurological shake. What's going on here?
So this came from the old Russian vibrational therapy training that they were using on astronauts to actually recreate bone density and rebuild the muscle after being atrophied in space for so long. I think I said that word right. But so they started putting them on these machines, and they realized they were building back a lot of the muscle fiber and the bone density at a high rate with using the vibration therapy. So we just took the science and said, well, let's apply it to the athletes.
Yeah.
Well, what I've seen guys come in with very, I would say, a compromised version of this drill.
Yeah.
And they end up like this over time by training that just for a few minutes every day. And we do it on the ball. We do it in the pool. I mean, I can throw it in any drill basically,
And you said you have your athletes do this when they're finishing their workout or at the end of a workout. Why at the end?
Because you want to leave the gym on the highest range of neurological response.
Okay.
And sometimes you want to enter the gym. You got to read energy as a coach. And so sometimes the guys are coming in, it's like, we've been here 3 days. And I'm just like, get on the ball.
Yeah. Yeah.
And let's 5 minutes and let's get going. And a lot of times that wakes them up. So that's a great question, by the way. I think that's a very important tool for everybody. I think if you can go through more twitch therapy, I think this is going to be the future of a lot of things in athletics. Not just athletics, I think in general. This is like, let me tell you a story about the guy in Hawaii. Mm-hmm. So I went to Hawaii to train with a couple of athletes with Gary Marinovich. I brought one of mine down. And, you know, the Hawaiians, they train at a village. So we went in and they have this guy, he's in a walker, right? Been in a walker for years. Take him to the pool. He's doing only the pool workout at the end for like 15 to 20 minutes. They do pull work every day. 2 weeks later, the guy's out of the walker. He's walking to the gym, right? Everybody's like, wait a minute. They've never seen this guy. And this is at BJ Penn's gym. This is legit. Everybody's like, what the hell is going on here, right? Guy leaves, as I think he left probably a couple weeks before I got there. Guy leaves, comes back, he's back in the walker. By the time I leave Hawaii, he's walking again. All he's doing is pull work. Now, this guy's had this ailment for years. And, I mean, it's hurting him to walk. And literally, he's walking. I think when I got there around the first few days, I don't think he was using a walk. Actually, you know what? I don't think he was using a walk at all. Like, the whole time he was walking around. So Gary was like, this guy literally couldn't walk a few days ago. And I was like, that's incredible. Like, I haven't had a case like that, but to see that was motivation for me to try to build that. I'm always looking to build these things.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I'd imagine with a lot of the exercises that you're choosing and some of the movements and some of the drills, the cone drills and so on, I'd imagine that like there's probably some small tweaks that someone could get. There's probably a little like kind of soft tissue injury here and there, or oh shit, like I got pretty sore. But it seems like the likelihood of getting injured is pretty low.
Yeah.
And it seems like the likelihood of like once you get used to it, it seems like the likelihood of walking around like a zombie is probably pretty low too. Whereas sometimes with strength training, that's not always the case.
Yeah. It's a lot of load force you're dealing with, and you're kind of
you feel compacted all the time.
Yeah, it's a lot of resistance. It's a lot of fight back.
Yeah.
To go down into a squat with 400 pounds, you know. Here's the reason why I think the injury rate's so low, what we do. I think it's because of the relaxation. I think that's a big thing. If we can relax the body, relax the mind, relax the muscles, we're more in our natural state. Like if I throw a punch like this, like I can feel that all the way through my doggone, you know, you get older, you start feeling everything. I can feel it through my through my elbows, right? And I think that violence is necessary to keep people healthy. You know, I know that. Like you got to put the ligament in enough duress to where it can handle it. If we're not doing that, then you're compromising the ligament. The ligament is the key. The ligament is the glue. It's going to hold everything to the bone. It's going to hold everything together, right? But if we're training that aspect too slow, you're going to compromise yourself. And that's where the guy's running straight and pulls the hamstring. You know, I've done curls all summer nice and slow, and now I'm going to run super fast. So we have to look at every component.
Yeah.
I think, you know, you're talking about like that resilience kind of reminds me of, you know, running downhill. Like, I race my nephew sometimes and I'll race him on the beach. And like, he always shocked that I'm fast or faster than him, I should say. He's always like surprised. He's like, how did you beat me? You know, he's always quicker than me, obviously, because he's like a little kid. But when we run downhill, he smokes my ass.
Yeah.
He leaves me in the dust, and he could sprint downhill like in flip flops or whatever, and he's totally fine.
So that's funny.
But I'm like, I'm gonna take my time. This is gonna hurt.
That's funny. That's where actually, you know, you have a better chance of getting hurt.
Right.
Like a lot of people see a guy throw a baseball, and they have this medicine ball system. I'd been doing it for years, but nobody ever gets hurt. The guy used to always say, nobody ever gets hurt throwing a 2-pound ball. They always get hurt throwing a baseball. Think about that.
Yeah, because it's appropriate weight. Like, it slows you down, just like
right.
running uphill.
That's right.
You know, if we, you know, throw a shot put or something, it might be a little too heavy. You find a weight that's kind of in between that, and it's the right weight to be able to push a lot of force into without hurting yourself.
Yeah, but you see pitchers hurting their arms all the time, doing the same thing over and over with a 5-ounce ball. You know what I mean?
It's because you can move your arm so fast, right? And the deceleration.
That's right.
Once the ball leaves your hand.
So I'm not going to lie. I did this playing baseball back in the day, but like I never had people that go through like, you know,
slow, nothing slow.
Even the warm up has to be there because it's detrimental. They're one throw away from ending their career. You know, and I rather be the violent guy. I rather your environment be more violent with me than on the field because I know if you leave me and you make it, likelihood you're not going to get hurt on the field. You know, so it's a safety with the violence. It's not just violence for the sake of, hey, everybody, I'm the fastest trainer. No, it's safety of the athlete.
I think we see like these movements, see them on TV, you see baseball players and you see some things like see someone swinging a baseball bat and you're like, I did that as a kid. You don't really understand how violent that is on the body, or a throw from third to first to, you know, make sure the guy is out. That is like, I mean, they load up like a lunge. The arm is way the hell back here. They're crossing over the body. There's so much like force production through there, all the way through your stomach, all the way through your hip flexors. And it's like everything's getting worked at that point.
One of the biggest injuries in baseball, obliques. Oblique injuries are huge.
Really?
It's a rotational.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's a rotational sport.
Yeah.
Remember the drill we did earlier? Like, you got to put those guys in that stretch. You know, I got a couple of videos with that, but if we can pull it up later, but that windshield wiper drill with speed, yeah, you got to put them into that violent stretch. If they're not
Maybe
in there,
throw with the other arm a bit too. Mess with that.
That's not a bad idea for alignment. That's not a bad idea.
Swing the opposite way when you you know.
The problem is time though.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's what they're dealing with. You know what I mean? Like, to work on it, like even, you know, switch hitting is basically dead. Because it's so much time that goes into hitting really well on one side and hitting really well on the other side. Yeah. You know, and if you can just hit the ball the other way, it's a lot. Yeah. So some of these things.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So is it this year? This isn't what is this what you're talking about?
No. There's a drill where they're literally on this machine, laying on their back, and then they're taking the legs. It should be pretty high up, actually.
Let's
Let me
look for this
see.
real quick.
Go up slow. Go up. Go up. Go up. Go up. Go up. Should be coming up. Right there. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh shit.
Watch this. So on this machine, come all the way to the bottom. You see that? Yeah. I ain't worried about sending no baseball player out there. Look at that transition. That's the one that rolled his ankle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I ain't worried about nobody, you know?
That looks crazy.
And he's trying to go down fast. He's not taking it slow. He's trying to go down fast.
Yeah, and that coach is calling, so he's changing the positions. You see?
So with all these different movements and stuff, there's quite a bit of mobility that's being displayed. Is there other forms of stretch that you will work on?
Yes. So we'll do some more traditionalized stretching, but it's with movement. So even if I take you and I just say nose through the legs, right? What I would do is I would push down and keep the stretch reflex going the entire time. So I want to stretch the ligament, come off of it, stretch the ligament, come off. So we'll do things like that for mobility because we do have a lot of mobility tests, and they have to be at certain marks on that. But it's really important that the athlete can engage at every anatomical position. That can get really, really tricky when you're dealing with like obliques and lower backs, and you know that. We just worked on some stuff today. And then, you know, side oblique range, rotational, you know, and like I said, it's really more art. It really is. This is really art, and you have to look at every component. Like that guy there is a safety.
And this is a reformer, right? That you're using here?
Yeah, he needs to be a little lower on that, but yeah, you'd be surprised how much that burns.
I was just going to say, that's got to burn like crazy.
Yeah.
We were talking a little earlier, and we were talking about how a lot of the athletes are, you know, kind of, I put it in quotes because I don't think it matters that much, but a lot of athletes are flat-footed. And you see a lot of high force production and really elite level athletes a lot of times are flat-footed, right?
Yeah. The forefoot's tighter on those guys. So if you can train them into the proper position, they're going to be more explosive. Yeah. When you have that big arch, the joint is usually looser. So if you look at a flat-footed person, and most of these guys are flat-footed, you'll see like that joint in the big toe is just like snap back. And so this guy here has flat feet.
So what is it? Yeah, because I see you have a lot of your athletes do some of this stuff. What's going on here?
So that's some fascial stuff. Now, there's a lot of details in there, but like look at the front foot as it comes in and look at the back foot as it goes out. So he's actually stretching through the Achilles, if you really look at it, but he's also engaging the toes coming over the top. And so we're getting that fascial response. So same thing, what you were saying earlier today on the slant boards. When this guy gets off of there, he's going to feel that all the way up his butt, all the way up the chain. You know what I mean? And so this is some of the things we do first thing in the gym.
So, you know what? I mean, I wish we had the video of some of the stuff you had us do today. And it's probably, it probably is in your program online, but like, what are some of the things that you just have your athletes touch every day? Like, what are the things that it's just part of their routine? What do they do?
So I think the first thing, of course, we're going to engage feet. So scrunching towels is important to me. We also have the slant boards. I think those toes, when I found out you have 14 joints in the toes.
Yeah.
In my mind, I'm like, wow, that's opportunity. If I can put 10 pounds in my pinky, 20 pounds in my big toe, and I can engage fast and do that over a year, how much different am I when I come back? So I always look at red flags first, and then I look at, because if somebody has a 1 in dorsiflexion, well, you're not going to do the exact same thing as everybody else is on a program there. So I take those athletes, I'd want to make sure we kind of hit every range of the foot. So let's look at how fast can you scrunch the towel today? And then some days let's add some weight and let's do it like that for more of a power source.
Yeah.
And then the slant board, some days we're going to jump straight on and then a little bit of lateral. And some days we're just going to turn the slant boards in different directions and you're going to hit these micro angles and all of this.
And also the heel never touches when you're doing any of this.
Nope.
Okay.
If that heel touches, they are scolded. So heel is up. You hear it all the time. Heels up. Everybody's screaming. Coaches screaming all over the gym. Heels up. And it's not just a heel up, because some people are going to be a little lower than others.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's just how they fire. But you want to minimize the amount of time it takes to load and fire. If I can get that athlete that's using this much heel capacity to go down in the dorsey to load, then to fire up, and I'll show you here if you can see. But if I can reduce this to this, they're already faster. I just got to make sure they can handle the modality and they can reverse it quick. If it's springy from that point, they're already faster. So I don't have to sit here all day and try to, first thing most people do, they get an athlete, they want to get faster, they put them on a speed program.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what's wrong with his feet. So the first thing you need to do is see how the foot is firing. Right? I need you touching the ground really fast. I need to do some foot fire stuff right after jump rope. Jump rope is very important too, especially the way we did it today.
So do you actually, today we didn't have a rope, but do you have these athletes use a rope?
Yes.
When they okay.
Yeah. Because I like it because it makes you, like you kind of on your own time frame when you don't have a rope.
Do you have any video of that on your page of the jump rope?
That should be on there pretty high too. Scroll down again.
Because like a jump rope is something that everyone can have access to.
Yes. Yeah. Go up. I thought I did something recent. Yep, right there. And that's 1-footed. But yeah, this is an advanced guy. So this is a guy who's slated to be a world champion here pretty soon. But look at that's crazy, ain't it?
Yeah.
1 foot. So we did that in short range, but he'll also do that in long range where he'll project all the way through like a ballerina.
So let me ask this about the jump rope thing here. When you were having us jump in the gym and you're telling us, get those toes up, is he trying to, he's doing shorter jumps here, but even with those shorter jumps, is he trying to like curl those toes to the very top and stuff? Or?
That's a great question. No, this is a different manipulation.
Okay.
So this is what I would call a touch value. He's trying to teach his brain to touch ground and get off as fast as possible. But it's all a part of the long-term equation. See, in running, we have to stretch, feel, and give off extremely fast, right?
Yeah.
FloJo 0.07 tenths of a second on ground time. So we have to look at that. So that element has to be separated sometimes, and then a power element has to be put on. So the next day he may have a weighted vest on, and he's jumping like a ballerina, and he's getting three points of extension. So
with a weighted vest on.
With a weighted vest on. So what y'all did today with a weighted vest. Yeah. And so it's a manipulation game, dude. It's not one way. And that's where you know, like as a trainer, are you talented or not?
Yeah.
That's a hard thing for me because I can get a guy to learn everything, but he may just not have the eye, And that's where you kind of know, like Gary told me early on, I think you got talent. And it doesn't mean I would have been great or not. The details to the principles are the key. And so, I had a guy wanted me to come out and work with him, and he had to talk to my business team, but some things didn't work out. And, you know, what I was telling them is the details weren't there. And I don't know if they got mad at that, but I was like, you know, it doesn't matter about the drill. You want me to come there and you want me to show you a bunch of techniques. I can change these techniques overnight because I understand the principle, you know, and the drills are great, but too many trainers and too many athletes, they're too big into what's the drill.
Yeah.
It's anatomy at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, you're not going to have any of this crap on the field. You know? So I've worked people out with nothing. I had to go up to San Diego. We didn't have anything out there. A couple of the roller pipes. And we had a full-fledged good workout, you know? So it's principles.
This is considered one of the more explosive athletes ever. This guy was 6'7", 300 pounds, I believe.
I posted this. Yeah, I posted it on my other. Oh, yeah. So this was the beginning of the era of plyometric. It's so funny how you go from this. What was this? 1970 something.
Yeah.
Okay. Now look at this. Look, but think about this. We haven't gotten any better than this.
No.
Think about this. In plyometrics, we haven't gotten any better than this.
Look at the way his feet were moving in that. Like you could see his foot flexing really hard.
Yeah. He's gonna come off of this and go crazy. Watch this. He's about to come off that drill and go crazy. Watch. I watch this over and over.
Yeah, he was an absolute monster.
Yeah, and you know, I was a shot put discus coach for years, and I used these techniques, and we'd win every year. I know it was junior high, but we win every year, literally. And when I quit my job, they were like, "Dude, I'm so glad that guy's gone." Like, but what I did, I got my guys barefooted every day, and we worked the same stuff you guys were using with throwing shot and disc.
He's throwing that shot put like crazy. He's not even spinning.
Go back. Look how he's on the toes on the throw. That's what a lot of people don't look at.
Yeah, it's on a loop, so it'll take a second for it to get back.
That's Cantor, right? What's his name?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
He says 6'7", 340?
300 pounds.
300. Okay, I was like, 340, Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah,
look at the toes. Yeah. That is unbelievable.
I saw a video of JJ Watt. You know, JJ Watt's going to be like in the Hall of Fame, and he's talking about the risk to reward of some of those lifts that he did. He kind of regrets some of the lifts that he did because if you look at towards the end of his career, unfortunately, he was hurt a lot.
Yeah.
And he couldn't play. And it just makes me wonder, like, you know, if someone was to get into drills where there's maybe you don't feel as good doing some of those drills, especially at first. And maybe they don't play into like your ego and how you feel to a certain extent, which kind of sucks because it does make you feel good to go in there and do the stuff you're good at. But it seems like if you were to work on some of the stuff that you're not so good at, that you would spread your wings and you would be able to absorb more and be able to have a more prosperous career.
Absolutely. I look at that situation so different, and if they could look at it like I look at it, we'd have a lot of change. Because if I can get my hands on a guy like that, he's gonna squat 300 pounds just my way. He's going to squat. He's going to bench 300 pounds, just my way. Or our way. I'm not going to say my way. Our way. You know what I mean? He can get to that point. You just have to change the
so you do some of the stuff
we do biceps, we do triceps, we do all kind of crap you haven't even seen here. And so he can get a full-fledged workout. One of my athletes said the other day, he said, NFL guy, he's been with me 3 years. He said, one kid asked him, he was like, "Hey, do you still go back and lift weights from time to time before the season?" He's like, "Nah, we're going to lift in season." He said, "Honestly, all my lifts, the power production goes up after I leave Brian every time." Had another kid come down from college. He came in for 6 weeks. It's about Christmas breaks, about 6 weeks. Went back. He gained 5 reps on his 225. We didn't touch one bar. And so when I see things like that, that's why I have a confidence in it. You know, it's not that I'm saying that one way is so much better, but I think one way is more efficient for athletes. You know, and that's what people have to understand. My first priority is so people don't get hurt. You know?
Yeah.
And then after that, change lives, change careers. You know?
So according to a lot of the comments on like Instagram, stuff like this is just an Achilles waiting to explode. Like, why isn't that happening?
Because they've been assessed.
Okay.
Yeah, they've been assessed.
So
they ain't doing that unassessed. So the issue is with people is that there's a lack of. I think what made everybody's eyes kind of light up today was that evaluation at the beginning.
Yeah,
I knew that was, and that's why I started with that because I was like, they see me do that, they know. You know what I mean? Because first thing that NFL guy was just talking about, he said, when I saw you do that evaluation on me, I was like, yeah, he a little different. So that's the first thing, but that's so important, you know. And couple of things here. I just understand how you tear an Achilles, right? You basically rupture an Achilles by stretching it to capacity and not reversing it fast enough, right? Well, his heels are up. So he's been with me 6 years. I know if they're not up, they're darn near there. They should be up.
So
right?
Achilles is shortened.
That's right.
Right.
So we're not going through the entirety of the range of that. So how are we going to rupture it? Right. The other thing is he's able to touch and reverse extremely quick. He has a pretty good bow in the knee, and we're pushing out the inside. I mean, what's the risk?
Right.
Right. Now, if his foot's deficient, he goes flat footed, and that goes out of the the pooper. So,
and if somebody has, I don't know if you noticed any correlation with this, but with the test that you were doing, you had us exert as much force with our big toe, and then we did like kind of the rest of our toes. And I would guess that the big toe and maybe the second toe, those two guys are probably the ones that are going to stretch that Achilles even more as someone goes into pronation to try to pick up some speed and put some force into the ground. So that's probably where, if someone has a shitty big toe, you might be like, right?
Big toe is the equivalence of the other four. So that's big. And it's not just the joint. It's what what actually is activated throughout that range of the foot all the way up the chain. And so it has a lot of responsibility, right? Pinky toe, of course, is a little more balance related, right? If you can get it on the ground, you can get it doing something. It's a huge break. But that big toe's off, we're in trouble. And so I think that you notice how I evaluated 4 toes and then I went back to the big toe by itself. That's a totally different evaluation in itself. And it only has 2 joints. That's another thing. The other toes have 3.
And something for people to think about, like if you just take your hand and hopefully people remember the in Terminator when Arnold opens up his own arm and he's looking in there. But I mean, if you just squish down with your thumb on your inside of your forearm, your fingers will move around. And you might notice that if you do that to your calves and stuff, it should kind of happen to your feet. But you'll notice that if you're older or your feet have been in kind of traditional shoes for a long time and your toes are sort of deadish, they're not really moving around great anymore, that your toes won't crinkle around, they won't scrunch up the way that they should.
Same. You remember I was telling about that ligament in your in the front of your ankle?
Oh,
the one that wasn't. Yeah, this guy. You can
right
see. Yeah. Oh, that's excellent. Yeah. Down the chain. Yeah. There's
so
2 thick ligaments there, right? And you're vascular everywhere. He's vascular right now. We've barely done anything with his biceps. You know what I mean?
Chilling.
But then we look at his feet, and then that's not popping out like a girl at my gym.
I wish we had a picture of that. So
I wish I did,
or something,
somewhere.
so we could pull up. But
some really powerful feet.
Yeah, I got one. That boxer there who's doing the 1-footed jump there, he doesn't have an area in his body where it's not a vein. It's unbelievable. Man,
They said that about.
If I can.
They said that about Bo Jackson. They said Bo Jackson had muscles everywhere in his ears, in his feet, everywhere.
Yeah, I had a picture of a vascular foot here. I'm gonna give it 2 minutes.
So you have a hot date coming up and you look in your closet and all you see are the old ugly clothes that you usually wear and you're gonna wear tonight. It's time to end that, guys. That's why we've partnered with Viore Clothing, because they have some amazing athleisure clothes that you can wear in the gym when working out, but also clothes that you can wear on a date or during Hanukkah or whatever. You can wear these clothes wherever and they feel amazing. Some of our favorites are the Ponte Performance line, which has dream knit fabric, which literally feels so soft on your skin. But they also have this is the Rise tee, also soft, also feels nice and fits great. And they have a lot of amazing clothes that you need to check out to step your fashion game up. We're trying to help you out. Andrew, where can they get it?
Yeah, absolutely. You guys got to head over to viori.com/power project. That's VUORI.com/power project, and you'll automatically receive 20% off your order. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
What about some myofascial release stuff? Do you guys play with that? Like some of the stuff I showed you today for,
I like
low
that
back
a
and
lot.
hips?
Yeah, we have played around with that with foam rolling. We actually roll on those hard pipes in there. I don't have as much stuff as you had there, but
we'll get you some. We'll get you some of those some of the balls and stuff.
Yeah,
from
I
yoga
would love
tune-up
to
and
start.
stuff
I like that because that's basically what we're doing with the on the foot. with the rolling pipes. We're basically doing the same thing. So that's a fascia relief method as well. So usually when guys first come in, they're having problems with, this Michael Jordan picture of the foot is pretty cool. He's got tape wrapped all the way up. We're having issues with the athletes with feel. So they'll get on the pipes, and somebody that's really deficient, they're in pain on those pipes. We didn't get to do the pipes today.
The pipes that they were bouncing on?
Yeah, the one you saw, the guy was like rolling over and in, and yeah. So a lot of them will get on like, golly, it hurts, and they can barely stand on them. And so, yeah, like that. So that's advanced feet. But somebody coming to the gym would have they would have a stick in their hand, and they'd be doing that differently. So
we got to do that when we get out of here. We have we have a balance thing in the gym.
Oh, got it.
He has those pipes with him too.
Oh, yeah, good. It's good for people to have a visual to some of this stuff because, like even 2 years ago, or maybe 2.5, 3 years ago, my feet they didn't have the veinage and stuff now, and they're still like even the tone within the tendons wasn't there. My feet were like kind of soft.
Yeah.
Right. So it's crazy how much. I think it's one thing that's really cool is how much the feet can change when you actually start doing things, when you start doing things barefoot. I think some people might think that we're making things up or that we're not serious, but like the tendons in your feet, the veins in your feet, they will fucking morph if you actually start paying attention.
It's just like lifting. It's still hypertrophy.
Yeah.
And so this ain't normal. This guy didn't walk in like that at all. This is a skinny boxer.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, that's insane. And so that guy, the NFL guy, Murray, he was saying when he walked in the door, it was like he was looking at the projection of everybody's foot. He's like, man, everybody's feet here look the same. Like the projection, the same ligaments are sticking out, the same veins, or like that vein you get right here in the bicep when you know you're a lifter. You know what I mean? You see that? That's like we have that's like a characteristic when people hit the gym. They come in and their feet are just so. I had a second round draft pick come in a couple weeks ago. He's like, dude, I'm so sorry because I found you too late. But he said that I will definitely be with you next offseason. Look at that.
Yeah.
He didn't have a vein in his foot. 6'4", 250, second round draft pick a few years back.
Yo.
Look at that.
That's goals right there, man.
That's a world champion foot.
Powerful feet.
So that's why I'm not worried about that guy jumping and tearing Achilles because that's the same guy.
Right.
You see? I trust that. Just like I trust his arms to stranglehold somebody and looking at that. And we need to look at sport the same way.
These are all skill sets. These are all things that can be worked on.
That's right. And it's 20 minutes a day.
What about in the upper body? Because, all the shit's connected. So, what have you seen in the upper body? You're working with tennis players. You're working with football players. You're working with a wide variety. There must be parts of the upper body that must be really important to get into as well.
Absolutely. So you're still dealing with a ball and socket joint, and you're still dealing with hinge joints. Toes are like fingers. Hips are like the hip is like a shoulder. So if you can look at this on an artistic side, they're trainable in the same capacity, just different. You know what I mean? So if I'm going to do you jumping off the ground, explosive squat jump, why can't I get a medicine ball with the shoulder and take the ball work? We're swinging the leg over. Why can't I get a medicine ball, squishy medicine ball, hit a wall, catch it right back into it again, pop, pop, pop. Every range, tennis guy, backwards and forward. You know, we have to learn to train in every position. Where's turf toe come from?
Where?
Resistance of force. You stop on a dime, joint can't trigger. Well, do we train the foot backwards? You never train your toes backwards. We don't train backwards there.
You mean like picking your toes up?
Yeah. So if I like, we actually do something where we'll get on top of the ball. I can show you before we leave, and we turn the toes backwards and you flick it, and then we'll get on that super cat and turn the toes backwards. It hurts like hell at first, and you turn the toes backwards and you actually push the machine up with the back of your foot.
I wonder if we could do that like with our leg press.
You may be able to because you got an angle too.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just need something soft to kind of cushion.
Right.
Make sure your foot's cushioned on there. But yeah, if you can move it, you're good.
You know, somebody was asking me the other day about shin splints. They're like, why do you think like our shins get all messed up? And I was like, well, they don't really get worked the same way. You know, all we're getting work for, which you would think it'd be the opposite. You would think your calves would be all jacked up.
Yeah.
But your shins are going to get jacked up because your toes aren't really getting the same, or your shins, aren't getting the same work because you're not really moving your toes in the fashion that you're talking about.
So I'd say the same thing with the wrists, right? You're grabbing and stuff. we need a backwards workout too.
Yeah, we're always
with
here.
the wrist. Yeah, we're always here.
Yeah.
You know, we don't go here.
No extension. Just flexion, like with these grippers and stuff like
That's
that.
right.
It's all squeeze,
It's
squeeze.
Never out,
not
like
open.
this direction. Also,
Yeah, open.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
Just-
open along with also moving probably the wrist a bit, and same thing with the foot. Get the toes to come up and
You know,
and
you
get
know
the
what I
ankle to
like?
move at the same time.
You ever worked in rice bucket?
Oh yeah,
I like those too. Yeah, you could use that there.
Yeah, rice bucket.
You ever work the rice bucket? Because you get a resistance on both sides.
yeah.
So that's something I do a lot.
It feels therapeutic.
Yeah,
It feels good.
You can get fast in it too. You turn it, get that wrist going. You got all those positions, like get it turning. You got to manipulate. So
On that note of like range of motion, we kind of talked about it a bit before. You don't only have your athletes do things in a full range of motion. You have them do top partials, bottom partials, all these different ranges. Can you explain why you do that?
yes, so the rule of thumb is I don't want a weakness in any degree of the movement, right? So you can't. That's why I say people fall in love with techniques. Okay, we still have a movement that corresponds with that technique. So if it's rotational, it doesn't matter. If I'm going to go straight with a punch, there's going to be strong points and weak points, just like on a bench. Some people can't get it off their chest and some people can't lock it out, right? I don't want that. The key as a trainer is to align the body perfectly, which means it's going to be smooth all the way through the ranges. So the manipulation is left out of training. We have to manipulate every body part in every movement and take an account of the 45 degree, the 90 degree, the points in between, the 30 degree, the 20 degree, and manipulate those as much as possible. What that does is the full range of motion over time is going to be unstoppable. It's no deficiencies, nothing to slow it down, right? And so I see a lot of guys, their bench isn't going up. They just keep benching and they stagnate for 2 or 3 months. Well, let's find the weak point and just leave the rest of the bench alone and just train there and see what happens. That thing's going to pop in a week.
Sounds to me like you're looking at stuff in like 5K and 60 frames a second, like because you breaking down every little frame.
That's a good way
of
to
the
look at
film. Make sure there's not a glitch in there. Remember the way Babe Ruth would run the bases? You know, he was zinging around the bases because there's
with
like
those clips.
there's little clips of it missing, right?
Yeah. And so that's the way we have to look at movement.
He didn't really run that fast, by the way.
You have to.
He's like jogging, and he's like
like those micro feet.
yeah.
But yeah, it's a science. Like I said, it's really art. And so if I know you have to throw a kick, I know all I'm going to do, like, that's a great way to break that down. I'm going to use that now. Frame by
Gotta give
frame.
me credit twice
I
publicly, and then you can steal it.
So frame by frame, I know if I can watch that motion pattern. Like, really, I just looked at tennis. I haven't done much. If I know what positions he needs to be in, I don't need to duplicate the action to make him a better athlete. See, the problem is not him being a better tennis player. The problem is he can't deliver the force or get in position to deliver the force fast enough. So all I have to do is understand what's the issue there in movement. So one leg extension push, where's the weakness? Is it through the ankle? Is it through plantar flexion? Is it through the hip? Is it through the glute? Right? Take that position, micro training, quarter, half, full, right? He's got to get better at that motion over time. Mm-hmm. But if we just do a drill to say, oh, just extend, this is power, go, right? What if there's a weakness in that movement? You know? And so the hard part is when you have a sport like that, there's going to be a lot of places he can go.
Yeah.
And that's where you'll figure it out. Like, I have a very high outlook of myself in this as a trainer, but until I win championships, it doesn't matter. Bottom line. You know, I can't say I'm the best or anything like that until we start winning championships. It's always the same thing. But there is a very high need in the athletic form for this type of training. You know, and we have to be serious about this because you've been hurt. Oh, yeah. You know, I don't know if you've been hurt in sport. I've been hurt, tore a labrum senior year, right, in college. And it's so discouraging. I mean, with the mental health stuff we're talking about today and things of that sort, like some of these guys, that's what they've built their whole life on.
People in general, not just athletes.
Yeah.
People are in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
It's what prevents them from doing the stuff that they think they should be doing.
That's right.
That would be in their best interest.
That's right. And so the goal here is to make sure that we have a complete human being, mentally, physically, speed, even if we have to stop, whatever it is, we have a complete human being. Mm-hmm. The anatomy. I always look at the Peruvian man? What is it? Not Peruvian. The Vitruvian man. And I always look at that because that's perfection, right? At the points. Look at the angles. 45 degrees, 45 degrees, 45 degrees, all the way up the chart. He's looking at the human body in its perfected areas and points, right? And so when I see athletes, I see the elite and I can see somebody that's not elite. So if I look at an average jiu-jitsu player, like I'm never gonna look at tennis the same because all I've seen is that.
Yeah.
I mean, you're watching the best in the world for 2 weeks, you're sitting there like, Jesus Christ. So I don't know how I'll react to go see a middle schooler doing it, but I know where they need to get to. Mm-hmm. You see? And that is a huge advantage. And that's why people just don't go up and hit 102 mile per hour fastball. You have to understand the projection.
Yeah.
And so my goal is to build athletes that are so fast. Like I'm looking at 10 years ahead from now. Like Usain Bolt came in, what happened? 9.5. Nobody's gotten close.
Yeah.
What happened? Right?
It's
so weird. What happened?
No one has his build too. Yeah. I mean, even now, like when you look at a lot of sprint, no one's like as tall as he was. There's what's his name? There's a sprinter that's kind of tall right now, but he's super fast, but he's still not getting close to Bolt's speed. Yeah. So I wonder if it's his build in combination with obviously his
or he may be a genetic freak we talked about that. He may be a genetic freak in the feet. Jamaicans are known for what? Barefoot running.
Barefoot, yeah.
And maybe he's grounded for so long that he don't even think about it. That's just who he is.
And now you got that Italian runner who's like running behind cars and stuff like that. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Yeah, is that the one who won the Olympics, the last Olympics?
Yeah, I think he's. They think he might have a possibility to be able to break the record at some point. But
check this though, isn't that weird? Yeah. How many African Americans are in this country? Like 50. Like 50 million African Americans in this country.
Yeah.
They got 3 million on that island. How are they beating us like this every year? It was a streak where they were winning for like 15 years.
Yeah.
How's an Italian dude coming out here?
Right.
Like, and that's just black people. Like, we got to have a wild card in all the other races. Like, what is
wild?
Like, we got 300 million people here. So what is the problem? Really? You know what I found out when I was gone? They don't respect us in this country. The foreign trainers don't respect us. Like they told me that. One of them told me. He was like, we know Americans aren't that good, so we can just out-train them. That's hard.
Americans a lot of times train too hard, right?
Yes. And that's part of it. And like he's talked this guy was telling me a lot of techniques they were using. They were similar to what I'm doing. Not on the level, but very similar. So he likes me. But he says it's rare you run across an American trainer like that. And they're kicking our behinds. We haven't won a Grand Slam in tennis in 2008. Roddick, I think. I think I'm right. And how are they beating our basketball teams? Like, how does that happen?
Yeah, that's right.
How does that happen, dude? That's insane.
Yeah, so much of the information years ago and strength training came out of the Eastern Bloc.
Yes.
And that's the old Soviet Union where they they would fire people immediately, but they kept track of everything.
Yes.
They kept track of like what it looked like if you exercised and you had milk before the training session versus didn't have milk. They studied everything down to like the details. But they also really ran people through real hard. So it's the Bulgarians were the same way where they just destroyed everybody. And they were like, okay, we got 3 guys left and these guys win a gold medal. And then people were like, oh, the Bulgarian system's amazing.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it was just happened to be 3 freaks that made it through the program.
Might have been. It might have been, but
obviously
I think we should better produce
well.
at least 3 freaks too.
Oh, sure.
With this, I mean, we played this school, used to be down the street in the middle school, and they would kick everybody's behind every year. You know why? Because they had 1,000 more students than everybody else. They had a higher talent pool.
Yeah.
It was hard to beat them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so we have a larger talent pool. Not only do we not, like we don't have as much as Chinese, but we have so many different ethnicities and races here. And you have so many people involved in sports. You know what I mean? How are we not producing enough athletes to win a 100-meter dash in 4 years.
Yeah.
Well, I think some of it is like we lose a lot of guys, right? We lose a lot of, or at least we used to. Maybe that'll start to change because we lost a lot of guys to football, basketball, so on.
And our soccer is shit here for some reason too. It's not part of the culture. But other countries, like you have kids like dribbling balls to school. It's like part of their culture in England and everywhere else. Here, it's just not part of the culture.
I think it's a financial issue too, because the high level clubs are so expensive. These inner city kids can't play there, so you're taking away some great cornerbacks that's playing on Sunday. That if they're given an opportunity, they might have switched. You know,
but they might dominate the UFC. You know, like, but it's not.
But you go to Dominican Republic for baseball, everybody plays baseball. No matter if you're rich or poor, you're going to be in a school for baseball.
Yeah.
You know, you go to Spain, you're going to be in school for soccer. You know, and we don't take care of the poor here. So that's our bad. It's no way you could tell me if we could take 10 athletes from every professional sport and those guys were actually playing soccer. Where would we be at right now?
Yeah.
Just 10 from each of the big three. Where we at right now? Mookie Betts out there. Right? You know what I mean? LeBron's out there, you know, playing goalie. So
but the other thing is like there's no money in it down here too. Like soccer, like MLS players, right? They don't make anything compared to NFL football players, NBA basketball players. They don't make shit. So it's like the want to go to that sport is like, I'm not going to make that much money.
Yeah, I'm hoping the Messi thing kind of helps us a little bit. I think that's sad, you know, that we're not even competing.
He's like,
I'm trying not to laugh, man. I think it is. Me and my coach had a discussion over this in depth a few weeks ago. I think it's sad. Like, man, we should be competitive in everything. You know, that's so weird. It's just weird to me.
Too much. We got too much DoorDash in this country.
That too.
Too much comfort. Video games, the phone. Yeah, we have access to a lot of stuff.
Don't play tag no more.
Yeah. People aren't getting outside. And do you have your athletes do stuff like that? Just do tag, like
I got a video on it.
Yeah.
Recently, actually.
I like those mirror drills. Like, hey, just try to keep up with this guy cutting back and forth and stuff like that.
I just, the same drill you saw the soccer girl doing, this is pretty high. Go down a little bit. Down. It was recent. Down. Right there. To the far left. Right there. Yeah. So I took that drill and they're playing tag.
Oh, nice.
So they're trying to catch each other.
Yeah, but I'm calling the changes. So when I change, the chaser becomes the chasee. See what happened there? Yeah.
I like that he totally broke form, just tried to run away.
So I'm saying change. And when they change, now that guy's chasing, I made him spin, so it threw his equilibrium off. So now the other guy has a chance. So that's a boxer versus the NFL guy. Boxer wins.
You mentioned in the gym, you mentioned like be able to cut like 0.3 of a second off of somebody's probably like 100, I'm assuming, right? And you mentioned being able to do it with like kind of like I guess it wouldn't be small changes or big changes because what you do is unique. But what kind of changes do you make to somebody when you are cutting down their time like that?
Yeah,
like you were showing us some stuff that like I guess seems almost elementary in a way. Like, stand on this board
isn't it?
And then be on your toes, but then it was challenging.
I mean, you can look at something as simple as a calf raiser. Like if the key is first that athlete must feel. If my athlete can feel, then my athlete can adjust. If my athlete can adjust, then my athlete can respond. So if I take the athlete and he doesn't know that his heels are going here every single time, first of all, we got a problem because there's no cognitive response here.
Yeah.
We don't really understand the angles. We can't feel it. Because in a cleat, think about that. Through a cleat, you got to feel through that. So it's no way you're going to feel like when you have a toe on the ground, bare feet on the ground. But if I understand where my angle is at and I can feel my angle, I can adjust through the shoe there.
Yeah.
But you got to feel it. So when you're on that slant board today, if I would have toned that up more, you would have understood like, oh, I got to get higher here. So it's a recognition thing. First thing I know the quickest way to change somebody is through the brain. So if I can manipulate their understanding of positions, that's the easiest way to get somebody to drop time quick and running. The drills are cool. You know, everybody has the traditional high knee down, you know, right? But, you know, the foot's producing about 80% of the force. if I want to start with something, I'm going to start with manipulating the angles there because that's the easiest fix short term. You know, and then over time, of course, you got to have the glute range. You got to have the eccentric output to the ground. You got to have the kinetic energy, like force into the ground. You got to be able to reverse that. But if they don't have that part, everything breaks down in the chain. So usually with running, per se, I'm going to look at every angle. 45-degree angles are our strongest points. So if he's going more into a 90, I know he's weakening. We get weaker in those points, right? If I want to strangle somebody, I don't choke somebody like this. I choke them into a V, right? So I look at the foot the same way. I look at the arm the same way. It's a pitcher. I know if you got a lot of balls going this way, you know what's happening. Before he gets through a 180 angle through his shoulder, he's releasing too early. So he's releasing power out. If he gets past this point and he releases, there's no tension on the arm. You could feel it. Like if you go behind the shoulder a little bit and just go here, you'll feel it in the back. You'll feel, now straighten your bicep out. You feel that?
Yeah.
Now come just in front of your shoulder and do the same thing.
Nope.
Nothing. Randy Johnson, 20 years sidearm, never tore an arm. What do people say? Don't throw sidearm. Your kid's going to get hurt. 20 years. It's where he releases the angle. He releases back here. The tension's there. So you got to look at angles.
Gotcha.
Do you encourage your athletes to do any, do they microdose some of these exercises into their lifestyle? Like, do you recommend for some guys, say, you know, you see these guys maybe twice or 3 times a week, depending on the person, or maybe some of it's remote. You say, hey man, like after you get out of your car after a long drive, like do some of these like little hops or do a couple of these exercises. They're easy to do. You don't need any equipment. Hop up on a curb back and forth, or do you recommend anything like that?
I say get in that grass, man.
Okay.
Get in that grass, you know, get in that grass. Because if you can't find a mat or something like that, like we have, that's cool. Get in that grass. You're getting a lot of other things. I'm not going to go into. I don't think it's the scope of this podcast, but get in the grass.
Barefoot
in the grass, baby. You know what I mean? Don't make it difficult. You could copy my stuff in the grass. I promise you. I'm putting it out there for you. Yeah. But get in the grass, get barefooted, and get in the grass.
Let me ask you. I know you're not going to go into, because like, you know, a lot of people talk about grounding and stuff, but what are some simple reasons why you believe that's important? Because I believe it's important too. But what are some reasons why you think people should actually start doing that?
I just, you know, I think this is holistic. I think it's an energy to it. I really do. Like from what I've seen, man, it's just not natural. Like I was around athletics, I was doing the same stuff everybody else was doing for years. You know what I mean? Like when I first started, I was running in the sand. We're doing this. We're pulling sleds. We're lifting it. We're doing all that. And when I switched to this, you know, I had a question for everything. You know, why don't you run in the sand? Why don't you run uphill? Why do you run downhill? Why are you getting pulled by the bungee instead of pulling against the bungee? None of it made sense to me either. But I said, I'm going to do it. And I did it. And all of a sudden, the results, you know, it's not natural to drop somebody a full second, especially when they're good already.
Yeah.
You know, you could drop a bad person 1 second. Like that's a lot of people think, oh, no, these guys are already pretty good.
Yeah.
And they drop that kind of time. We're talking about, you know, 11.5 to 10.5. That's not natural. You know, running it, like we were saying, running is so dramatic. You know, like you're all trying to get into running. I'm trying to start a short sprint program. I was like, I'm gonna try it, just 5-10 yards, build it out. Because I like sprinting. They say an average man, I think 80% of men, or maybe a little higher, never will run a sprint after the age of 30.
Oh yeah, I've heard.
You heard something like that?
Before,
That is insane to me.
That is actually crazy.
That is insane to me. Like you're not even using your flight or fight responses. Like, what if something happened? You got to run. And I heard that. I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, I gotta get this going. So, but yeah, so you're talking about the most violent action you do in any of sports is running. And so, man, I'm telling you, you just want to increase athleticism, man, teach somebody how to run. That's about as violent as it gets. I know we need lateral movement and things like that, man, but you got to even think of it in terms of jiu-jitsu. If I got 2 feet of cushion and I can accelerate like I do out of the blocks into somebody.
Yeah.
At your size.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's dangerous.
It is. It's scary. And that's what I'm telling you, application of force. I was talking to one of your coaches. Look at a bench press. If somebody is benching 400 pounds plyometrically, they literally could probably push their hand through your heart. If they could apply all that force on a plyometric time frame. There's no way that's applicable weight. They're only applying maybe 40% of it. So it's a great 40%. It's definitely going to help. But if that was at 60, 70%, that's a scary situation. That may be an Aaron Donald situation. Maybe so. That's what's happening. You know what I mean? We have to look at that because he's able to apply the force extremely fast, and that's rare. That's the thing. Everybody can't do that. You know, they can lift, but they can't apply it. And so let me ask you this. When it does come to maybe doing some things with lifting, do you think more people should try to lift in somewhat of a plyometric fashion? For example, I saw this boxer who, when he was doing bicep curls, instead of like just doing them normally, and I brought this up to a powerlifter we had on the podcast who's also boxing, and she said like, oh yeah, if someone's like trying to move those dumbbells fast, they're wasting their time. Like, why are you wasting your time bicep curling fast and explosively when you're not, you know, trying to focus on the muscle? What do you think about that? Yeah. So if we're talking hypertrophy, maybe.
Yeah.
It's a waste of time. If you're talking sport, no.
Yeah.
Like, he needs to try to get as close to throwing a punch as possible. If that was the case, you take every powerlifter and put them in a boxing ring and they'll be knocking everybody out. That's not the guys. The best lifters in the gym are the worst boxers. I've been in plenty of boxing gyms that people lift. And most of the boxers, they don't even have a lifting background. You know?
Yeah.
They get introduced into lifting as they start boxing. You know? So, no, that's totally, I disagree. You know? I disagree with that one. But.
Yeah, I think I've seen like more recently. I know it's been around for a while. People have been doing stuff like this, but like catching weights and stuff too.
I like that.
You know, you kind of like maybe you curl a weight, but then you like let it drop and then you try to catch it on the way down. I think things like that. I mean,
yeah,
that's what happens to you in sport, right? You get jerked around. A lot
That's
of
right.
times.
That's right. And you're training. It's back to the eccentric. So, God, it was a football player doing that. One, he had learned some of this science, but they were doing it projecting a different way. And they would throw the bench bar up. And then, who was that? It was not Adam Archuleta. Was it Adam?
Oh, yeah. Adam Archuleta.
Was it Adam Archuleta? I think it was Adam
Archuleta. Jay Schroeder.
Yeah. And they were throwing the weight back on. He was catching, bam, release. Yeah, I mean, like, he was explosive as I don't know what.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was an animal out there.
Yeah.
You know? And you look at the Palomalu with our guys. Like, those guys, they're elite. Like, don't get it twisted, but Troy Polamalu is not dropping weights to do something that he doesn't feel like he's getting an advantage for. Trust me. Right? He's an extremely intelligent human being. So there's no way you're going to say, well, why are you doing stuff like this? And sometimes I just say Troy Polamalu. That's the only comment they get. And they don't know what it means. But why would somebody at that level with that kind of brain, because some people aren't smart, they're just very instinctive. You got the instincts and the brain. Why would you drop everything to do something totally contrary to the norm?
Did he train with the Marinoviches?
Yes. Yeah, he finished with them.
Yeah, he was unbelievable.
Yeah, and they even rehabbed him through, he had a knee surgery. But Marv got his hands on him at USC. And then I think they kind of broke off for a while, and then he came back mid to end career, I believe. So, but yeah, that's on there too. You can actually look up Troy Polamalu training with Marinoviches, and it's on there. Is that the Adam Archer?
Yeah.
That was cool. They were like holding the weight down.
Yeah, that was a.
And they do it again.
And they're getting a little isometric mixed in there.
Yeah, and isometrics. There is an isometric value to every plyometric movement. I want people to know that. But I found that actually, and this is just kind of my own research. I need to probably put this on pen and paper. I feel like we've gotten a better result in strength by training the degree points. So we're still training the isometric. If you think we're stopping it on a dime at certain points. So if I'm quarter, half fooling the move, I have to be responsible for stopping those in those degree points.
So you stop at halfway.
Yep. Stop at a 3/4. You see what I mean?
Do you see that jump he just did? Did you rewind?
No, I didn't see it.
Yeah, this is like the kind of stuff I'm talking about, jumping down off of stuff. This is wild.
Whoosh. Yeah. And is he on the toes?
Clean landing.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
I mean, if your body can handle that, it's almost like, what can't your body handle?
He's on the toes. You see that? So this guy knows something. I would want to do that. See that? All toes. Right. He's not going to get hurt like that. You see, that's the thing. As soon as that heel,
light.
That's right. As soon as that heel touch, you're vulnerable. You know? And so look at his toes. See, this guy knows something. Boom, toes. I never seen this. I'm just, you know?
So who is this, Mark? Like this
is
video?
Adam Archuleta, and this is, I think he's being trained by Jay Schroeder, who was a disciple of.
You see the toes? Now, where the Marinovich took it, they brought in the barefoot stuff. So I think that brings it to a whole nother level, you know. But that NFL guy was telling me about, this is why he was really interested in me, because he's a safety, and he started studying Arch Athletics program. He's like, man, you kind of doing the Arch Athletics stuff. And I felt like this was, like I said, we're a progression of these things, you know. And what people don't understand is these things have to grow just like everything else. And is lifting the same as it was 20 years ago? No. I don't remember ever doing a deadlift in high school. You know, in 2000. I don't remember ever doing a deadlift in high school.
What do you think about the deadlift for athletes?
Got the camera up now. I think it's a competitive lift. I'm gonna be a little biased. I hurt my back doing it pretty bad. So
how about trap bar? Do you think
depending on how you
there?
use it? Yeah. Here's the thing about the deadlift too. Your back is actually pretty static in the position to the last 10 degrees or so. So I would want with somebody who's a boxer or something in there, you know, engaging down, you're getting flipped upside down, things like that.
Yeah.
I'd rather use the glute and ham machine to build that, because I can get all the way through those thoracic points, all the way through the spine, all the way up, round over, come all the way back up. You see what I mean? And then I can take that and round it in a circle, come back the other way, up and down, side to side. I have video on that. And those are things that you have to look at the entirety of what's happening on the field.
Yeah.
I think people might be confused why you're not like, oh, you know, the deadlift could be good to like build size. But I think that we're looking at sports, and you're looking at sports through a different lens. Maybe we don't even need to build that much size, you know? And with what you're doing, I'd imagine because of these movements, I mean, these movements are really tapping into the fast twitch muscle fibers, which are more prone to hypertrophy in the first place. So if somebody's really snapping on these movements, they should be able to gain a little size anyway.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And they'll gain it differently. So I'm not telling you that not being strong is not important. That's crap. You know, it definitely has to be there, but I just think there's a different way. And if I want to keep a guy safe, I need to make sure he can project from every point. Like, how do we take one squat? Let's just say the squat is great, right? That's one movement. What about everything else? You know what I mean? Like, that's one movement, one position. What about squatting with your toes in? What about squatting on the toes? What about toes out? What about close range? What about out range? What about quarter, half, and full range? What about one foot in front of the other split, foot in split, foot out split? You got to look at everything, you know? And so we get too, in this culture, we get too
rigid.
And like this tunnel vision. Yeah. The squat. You know, Texas is, you know, the squat. If you can't squat.
What strength coach is he channeling right now? Who is that guy? You know that the old, was it not Wendler? It was, there's a strength coach on Instagram that.
The guy who wrote Starting Strength?
Starting Strength, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm losing his name at the moment.
I had a dad come in. He was like, I'm just telling you. Somebody told me he used to be with the Chicago Bears. He said, if he can't squat at least 400, he ain't got a shot.
Rip it toe.
I looked at him. I said, really? That's all I said. Really? And walked off. Yeah. Like, what? And his son's slow.
Right.
Right? And that's where I have to start drawing a line, especially with the high-level guys. Because if they're going to go behind my back and do things, and then they go out and pull a hamstring, well, that's on me. Yep. You see? And they got to be all in.
Everyone can think back to like either high school wrestling or football or some sport they played where they just got owned and completely wrecked by the smallest guy on the team. Everyone can think back to that person that they knew, like, yeah, why was that guy so strong? It's probably because he had a good positioning and he was probably fast and quick. He'd light you up, and you're in there in the gym lifting weights, and he still lights you up.
You ever look at the ligament base of some guys too? Like, I don't necessarily look at the muscle anymore. I start at the ligaments. So if I see these thick
that's what O'Hearn talks about training.
Look at your Achilles. Go look at most of the sprinters. They may be skinny as I don't know what, but that Achilles taking over the whole leg. You know, the Achilles is just unbelievable. It looks abnormal. And so I started looking at that, and I'm like, I'm gonna get an analytics guy. I gotta get somebody to start charting, because like if we don't start collecting our own data on this stuff, like in gym, I've showed y'all a lot of stuff today, and like, man, you guys are super smart. If we could all start collecting data, you know, because I need to be proven too. I'm not telling everybody I'm all the way right. I'm actually go out and do your own due diligence and look at some of the stuff we do and try it out for yourself and see if you feel a difference. But we got to start charting this stuff, you know? So somebody drops a full second in 100, that's not normal. Like it needs to be some intense research done on that, you know? And that's where I'm kind of all over the place right now with running around, but we got to get on that because this could change the scope of things. You know, I just think, what if that was Bolt?
Yeah.
You know, running a 4.3 is starting to become easy. You know what I mean? Running a 4.3 is starting to become easy because they know how to run the race now. Mm-hmm. You see what I mean? So it's really not a great, I would say, it's showing some things. Something. Yeah, but it's not the best application to say this guy's going to be good. You know what I mean? So look at this. They do a broad jump, right? So it's pretty much a similar application. Why don't they do a side broad jump? Like,
yeah, make it a little tricky.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, a side broad jump.
I think one of the better drills they do, like an NFL combine, is when they have the guy run across the field width-wise, and they just zing footballs at him. You ever see that?
That's a good reactive drill.
Turn. And some of those guys, they can move, they can turn their entire body, keeping their hips still running forward full speed, and they catch it. That's, like, holy shit.
Yeah, and not break stride.
So,
and stay on the line. So they're looking at all those things. You know what I mean? If they start zigging off the line, then they have what's called a proprioception issue. So they don't know where they are in space. So they catch balls. They don't recognize the environment around them. They're not going to be very effective. So that's what that drill is about, right? So even to go back a little bit, what I was talking about, the next move is usually going to be some type of lateral move once you catch a ball of some sort. What if my man has a foot deficiency on a side jump? Because I've seen that. Like, I don't want to play him on certain sides of the field if I know that.
Yeah.
Or draft him. You know what I mean? And then if I know that and I got data on it and I'm an NFL coach, well, I know how I'm going to try to manipulate him to get over there. See, we got to have data on those things. And I feel like there's a lack in certain things. I think I love that. What were you talking about? The thing that reads?
Tendo unit.
We've been looking at that, so I'm already going to have that pretty soon. But it's still, we have to measure lateral force, rotational force. Like, we got to have objects for that too.
Yeah.
Those, like in your sport, that's king. Look at this. But look at where he at. Look, he's going all over the line.
Just so smooth.
That's smooth. So look at the line, and watch some of these guys. They're right down the line.
They just swallow the ball too.
Damn.
But he's slowing a little bit.
Yeah.
You see that? Per catch. This guy here, smooth athlete. He all over the place though. Ooh. Yeah. He actually really smooth on the field, but that's, you just never know. Look how sloppy his feet are. So his toe goes way up in the air before he hits the ground.
What do you see when you see
butt kicking?
When you see Michael Jordan, Randy Moss, Deion Sanders?
Time. Yeah, I'm sorry. Time.
Yeah.
Time. Like Deion looks like he's floating. It's just there's no effort behind it. It's just time, And look at that. Go back to that clip, if you can.
Yeah, some of those
that
guys
last
are just
one
floating.
Look at that. Look at that compared to the other guy. Look at him and watch the next guy. Look how floppy the foot is. Look at his feet. Look how much time he's taking that. No, I think the next guy is pretty fast.
Yeah.
That guy's feet were on the ground a little too long.
Yep. Watch this.
Yeah, a little chop.
That's a lot better chop. Yeah.
More toes.
Damn.
That's a lot. You see what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
time.
He had a lot of control.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
I don't like that. Yeah.
It's cool. It's cool that this stuff can be taught. I think we just think like, oh, Jordan's Jordan and Randy Moss is Randy Moss. And maybe they kind of were. But it's cool that this is still a trainable thing. And obviously there's always a genetic component to everything.
Yes, I agree. But
what's some of the freakiest stuff you've seen? Because you must be encountering some real mutant athletes at this point.
Yeah, I've had a 270-pound repeat squat by two guys. Now, that was from a guy that was squatting 700 pounds. The guy did it twice. But he actually started like 25 pounds because I had to retrain his nervous system to react. So it wasn't the absolute power. It was just
doing a jump squat.
Yeah,
With 275.
With 275. It's way down.
Was it
in
a
the
stagger
archives.
stance or is it like
No, it's straight up on the cat? So,
okay,
you
yeah.
also have a coach pushing you down.
Mm-hmm.
But I had an athlete go back to professional football and literally put one on his back after off season because it's coming through his feet at that point. So that changes the game. You know what I mean? That's a version of it. Yeah, definitely. Look at the flick off the ground. Now, there's good weight back there. He might have 120. And the machine weighs something. I don't know exactly what. And he got two coaches pushing into the eccentric. But look how quick the reaction is in the foot.
Is that machine? Is that
It's
like
called
a weighted machine, or is it some other type of resistance?
So there's weight we put in the back of it.
I see.
So we put actual plates on there.
Mm-hmm.
So we're counting up the weight. The shoulder apparatus has weight too. What I like about it though, you don't strain in your spine because the weight's on the back of the machine, right? But the hard part is when we add this eccentric in with two guys pulling you down, a guy pulling you down, and you having to fight that force and get out of it so quick. So he can't even go up in his squat until those feet can react. That's the hard part. So if you're going to squat 200, you got to be at 250 in the feet. So we do a lot of manipulation with calf raisers and ankle jumps on that machine. And that's stuff you can do here. I mean, you just got to manipulate the postures and you put weight on there and you move the crap out of it fast. And you just pop, 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 cut it. Pop, 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 cut it. Feet in. Pop, 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 cut it. And you build that and you'll see that chain works together.
Gotcha. I want to see how we can do that here. I was actually curious. Some of this guy's stuff, our boy Josh Settlage sent this to us, but he does a lot of stuff like this with different parts of his body where like it's like he's throwing that and then he's catching it. And like you see what's going on here. So what do you think about some of this stuff?
I don't think that's bad. If I said I can improve it. See, I like these not doing with a band. I'm looking at everything here, right? So if I could get a guy back on that rail to help load him back into that again, that'll get even smoother. So I don't think that's bad. Most people aren't bad. They're not hitting the details. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I have an eye for everything. Like I have to train coaches and players now. And so I can't make a lot of mistakes like I used to. I used to make mistakes. I make mistakes. You know, I'm not perfect. So some of my drills I post, I look at them. You send a drill hitter down. It's like, oh shit. Like that wasn't what I wanted. And that's okay. Yeah. That's okay. That's we look at film and we assess and we get better. I like that. That's something I would think about incorporating. Think about incorporating because as long as it backs the science.
Yeah. He does some of that type of stuff with the hip too, like the hip coming out here and grabbing, pushing back that way. So interesting. Okay. Cool. So
now I do drills like that. I'd go different position points and I'd get a weighted ball and we throw it into a wall, a solid wall. And I mean, off the catch, he'd go back in a position and he'd change up the ranges. So, and I'd put him right through his pitching progression, even down to the pronation. So he'd take it, pronate it, bring it back in reverse. Yeah. And then go forward and do the same thing.
Guys, summer is here and it's time to get some new footwear. I'm not talking about these. Flip-flops suck. I used to love them, but they are messing with the way you walk and they're actually messing with your feet because every step you take in a flip-flop shortens the big toe, which can have some long-term ramifications. That's why we have been wearing our Power Sandals, and this is actually version 2 of our Power Sandal, which is live now at powerproject.live. It is 0 drop. It has a German leather footbed, so it's comfortable as fuck. It has a Vibram sole, which is going to last you thousands of miles to walk in. You can run, you can hike, you can walk, you can lift in these sandals. And because of the heel strap, it's going to stay connected to your foot so that when you run, which you can literally run in these sandals, or when you walk, every step is just like if you were walking barefoot. We love these things, and that's why we've partnered with Shama to make our version 2, which is much cleaner than our version 1. Both versions are on the powerproject.live website, so get your new summer footwear, the Power Sandals. Peace.
Andrew, what did you think about some of what we did today? How did it feel for you and stuff like that?
It was great, especially when you were doing the like the feet analysis part, because like I know for a fact that like I have some work to be doing down there, but you were able to kind of break down like, oh, your big toe's doing okay, and then your middle toes they're fine, but then my pinky toes are like shut off. And then you said something earlier today about how like your pinky toes responsible for your balance. And my balance was all over the place on that board.
Yeah.
So this is a very selfish question, but how can somebody turn their pinkies back on? Because I mean, for jiu-jitsu, like I need balance. So I would like to start working on that.
Yeah. So I say simplest way, man. It's even just sitting there and moving your toes every day. How?
Yeah.
This thing, right? Okay, it's funny because like the thing that I'm standing on right now,
Yeah.
I can grab the different parts of it with different parts of my foot. So like when I grab with the outside of when I grab with my pinky, I feel all of this down here start activating.
Yeah.
And I'm doing this every single podcast, just grabbing different parts of this thing with my foot.
I didn't notice that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, that's one thing.
Coach, you cheating on me over there, man. You doing it too.
Yeah, we're smashing our feet, compressing our feet.
I want some of that action.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It's poking out right here. You can see I got one on my feet down here below too.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that. It's the same with your hands.
Well, shit, kick your shoes off.
You've been a baby, right? You've been a baby your whole life.
Yeah.
Babies, what do? First thing they do.
Oh yeah.
They get on. Don't get no close up on me, man. I ain't been to the.
It's all right.
So, when you get a baby, the most inactive thing on
This
the
is
baby.
great.
I'm getting things,
There you go.
no close ups.
There you go. No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, baby. I'm buying. Yeah. So you get a baby, and
just gotta
you
move
get
the
the
mic.
inactivity.
Oh yeah,
I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry.
We can push. There you go. Perfect.
So you get a baby, right, and nothing's moving right, right, and over time the hands start first. And why? Well, we're handing them everything, and you're putting shoes and socks on the feet right away, right? Maybe not in another country, but here, it's an American thing, right? So we take that same athlete or baby, and we start taking them and manipulating the toes. Let them pick up things with the toes. Let them get on the ground all the time. Quit worrying about him stepping on something outside. Get his behind out there in that hot sun, on the grass, where he's grabbing and manipulating, right? Have him pick up things with his feet. If you're really trying to formulate an athlete, you got to look at everything. Some of these parents go and they're trying to formulate athletes, and the mindset has to be there, first of all. But outside of that barrier, if you're just trying to get a perfect environment, it's going to be from the foot. That's the only thing. You don't react with your upper body without your feet doing something first most of the time, right? I don't swing until my foot hits the ground in baseball. I don't throw until my foot hits the ground. I don't know about jits so much, but I think that I can't traject an angle until I get in a foot position. You can't hit a tennis ball. It's all from the foot, and we neglect it more than anything. So I'm not the foot guy. I want to get that out. I'm not the foot guy. I just the foundation. We work it for 15, 20 minutes. That's it. Every day though. And so there's a plurality of things we do. The main thing people need to try to learn from me is how. Because you can look at a drill all day, but I may do that drill once every 2 weeks. You don't know that. It's on Instagram. How it's so important, because you guys asked unbelievable questions. How long? How short? Where at? These are the keys. These are the principal keys. And we don't get that through people's head. You're going to have a lot of confusion. Like, you have a lot of athletes, they're very good kids. They just don't understand. Yeah.
Cool.
How's the feet? Feet feel pretty good?
I'm feeling some pain.
Yeah.
In a good way. Good pain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm grabbing things though.
On that line, like what, athletes have to wear cleats for sport. Soccer players, football players. There have been some companies like Code Footwear who've tried to make wide toe box cleats, but it's super expensive since they make it for each athlete's foot. What are your thoughts on the cleat? Is that something that you think over time needs to evolve, or is the cleat does it need to be sharp for those athletes to cut and move in fields?
Yeah, that's a good one. And think about this. The faster the sport, the smaller the cleat. Ever thought about that? The faster the sport, the smaller the cleat.
Yeah.
Right? So we have to look at that. Where are you trying to get the advantage at? If I'm a receiver and I want to get the most advantage, I need something as close to a soccer cleat as possible. Well, people will say, well, you're going to get hurt, right? Or you need the support. No, you don't. The ligament's more explosive than some cotton and the leather. that ligament is strong as I don't know. It's holding 240 pounds up.
Yeah.
And so it's all in how you train it. I tell my athletes, don't ever come in here with an ankle bracelet on, you know, or a knee brace. Like if you're hurt, that's fine. We'll work around that. But your body needs to retrain itself to get back in position, you know. And I think we're always trying to put training wheels on something that's already perfect. We just got to train it.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty crazy that like a lot of people don't make any contact with the earth. I mean, it's a really interesting thing to think about. Like you know, you go from your home to putting on socks and shoes, and then you get in your car, and then you go into an office and so on, and you come back home, and then, but you've never made any contact with the earth. And I'm not really saying that I think that you have to, but I think it's just kind of insane not to do it at all unless you go, like maybe someone goes to the beach.
Yeah.
Might be the last time they did that, you know?
Yeah, you're right. I went outside the other day and I had to take the trash out and I rushed out because I thought I heard the trash man coming. Barefooted. Man, everything on the asphalt hurt.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, this don't make no sense. I'm getting in there. Like, I'm going to get in and get barefooted because you start feeling that. That's the problem. You know, the things we can do with our hands, you think about that. I just threw you out of nowhere and let's go off the ground, right? Man, you can't take everybody and do that, like on that turf, you know, with their feet.
Yeah.
And that's crazy because we walk on them all day. So, like, there's definitely a formula there. And that's I think it's so, on a holistic side of things, I think it's so important just in general for health. I think we all need to get outside more. You know, Texas is about 110 right now. So my wife go real early in the morning and real late at night. It's ridiculously hot this summer.
Yeah.
But I try to go every evening and sit out on the porch and get my feet on the ground. You know, I could do more, but.
What else you got, Andrew?
Yeah, that was my main thing. And then also when we were doing the jumping, I noticed, so the way my feet are, if I'm just like walking without any thought, my left foot will be straightish. My right wants to hang out to the right. So when I'm conscious about it, I can keep them straight, and I've been practicing it for a while, so I'm getting better at it. But when we were jumping, I noticed right away my right knee started bugging. It didn't like the impact of that sort of thing. So like, where does that stem from, and like, what can I do to help improve like the impact of like hurting up the chain?
What was your dorsey when I tested that?
That's the one that we're going in.
Yeah, you're pulling back.
It wasn't explosive, but it was strong all the way through.
That's going to be part of the problem.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's the whole problem. That's going to be a big part of it because that's your shock absorber. So if it's too slow, see, he's getting away with it because he's a 3. Like, that's a potent move, right? So even though he's static, he's too static, he's getting away from some things. So he's so strong in that position. You were more like a 2, 2.5, right? And you're slow. So the shock isn't going to radiate up your chain the same way, right? And who knows how strong his patellas are, you know what I mean? So it's going to affect, he can do it wrong and maybe he gets away with it, and you could do it wrong and you don't. That's the scary part about doing things like this. So when I see something I don't like, right away, like a jump rope, you know, you may bother you a little bit, you'll come back tomorrow. But if I start getting you on too high of a box too early and you see those knees concaving in, I cut them right away. Like, nope, go back to the ropes. We got to retrain the positioning throughout the jump chain. And so you feel something right away, you stop, and taping is very good. I would say that. A lot of the taping I do is not just to post. It's a lot of taping I do is so that we have data or things that I can look at and see what's right and wrong. Because you miss a lot of things when guys are moving at split seconds every single day, you know? And so I had a track kid come in, and I posted a video I wasn't supposed to post. His mom told me not to post. And it was going viral. It was like 5,000 hits in like 8 hours. Wow. 5,000 likes in 8 hours. It was about to go nuclear. And I had to take it down. I was sick. But dude, this guy was getting off the ground so fast. I mean, it's unbelievable. When I went back and slowed it down, his heels hit the ground every time. So he's a top. He was literally, as a freshman, he ran 10 flat at Kentucky.
Nasty.
Yeah. And he's 10.5 now. See, his mom ran him. They flew him all the way down here to work with us. And, you know, there was an issue with him receiving in tight corridors. So when he gets down the 200 meters, the last 50, he was beating the the kid in Georgia everybody talks about, the white kid that's yeah, he was beating him he beat him a couple times actually. But he was beating him in the meet, and him and 2 other guys beat him 50 meters out. He was, head and heels off the turn. Well, he doesn't relax well. So when he doesn't relax well, you don't receive well. And so it goes all the way up the chain. So the same thing he was doing on that box, it looks super explosive, just like he looked explosive in the first part of the race. Through the duration, it beats you up. So those guys are staying higher on the toes, and they're creating more elastic potency throughout the ranges. So they're hitting and getting stronger, everyone, like a kangaroo. He's depreciating and getting slower because the range is too low. Yeah. And I told him, if your heels were up 1 inch, you blow those guys up the water. And so that's what, it's the finite things like that you have to look at. I looked at his race, heels on the ground.
Yeah. Wow.
So the way you do one thing is the way you do everything.
So then is it like as simple as saying like the repetition of that explosive movement is going to teach the explosiveness? Because I know for me personally, because my body's always trying to protect itself. So like mentally, I'm always have like a limiter on everything I do. But some of the when you're having me push off, I had some pretty good pop there on your hands.
You did?
So I know I physically have it in me, but it's just something I'm always cautious with. So like on the mats, sometimes like I'll see a window open, but I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. So I'm going to just whatever, like I'll pull guard or something.
That's a learned behavior.
Okay. So then just by repetition, I can kind of start learning how to build some explosiveness.
Yes, because you've been taught that slow and steady wins the race.
Yes.
And then they throw you in jiu-jitsu and you get an opportunity, and slow and steady doesn't win the race there. Opportunity wins the race. You see what I mean? And so how can every window is going to be different with different athletes. You know what I mean? You're not going to get the windows in high school wrestling that you get in professional. The windows tighten up. And so if you're not training to exemplify these changes of speed, you don't really, you're kind of lost. Like when somebody faces a team and they just have not trained at that capacity of speed, they're done. You can see in the first quarter, it's like, oh, Lord.
Yeah.
They're done because everything falls apart from there. They get tight and they just know that. And then the brain starts speeding up. That's where you're really in trouble. When it starts projecting things and making it faster than it really is. And it's not. It makes a baseball look that big, because now tension's involved. So your windows of opportunity start to diminish along with your brain because you feel like you can't get there. That's why it's very important for you in that sport to go in here and y'all push the limits on those things slowly, smart. No higher than 18, maybe even a 12. But you're going to get off that ground hot. Everything you do is hot, hot, hot. Push the limitation. He was doing, man, you were faster yesterday. Let me see if I could beat that, on the ball work, even on that. You know what I mean? Because, man, you swinging your leg like that and changing the degree points and angles. And you imagine when you get to a point, you got a 5-pound weight on there and you're moving it that fast.
And somebody gets a grip. Leg?
Yeah, somebody gets a grip on you and you just, boom.
Just Granby rolling on everybody.
Yeah. And if you think about, if you think about like being, like you were saying, violent, being violent with the movement. If you think about being aggressive with the movement, I think that'll help a lot. But it does have to be over a period of time because
it does. It does.
It's got to be cautious just jumping into this stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And even on my online system, it's a very progressional situation. The drills go very easy, and then like by week 6, then you're getting a little more of the violent take chance, things like that. But if you don't build that foundation, like the stuff we're working on earlier today, the kettlebell stuff, the calf raisers, which we didn't do, the towels, like you want to make sure when I come back and test you, you can see that snap in the dorsiflexion. You see the toes not having a restriction with those things.
Yeah.
Those are telltale signs it's time to take a few chances. And you progress it. Be very smart.
I have a question real quick. Do you think for example, we had that tip bar and we were doing that stuff fast.
Yeah.
Do you think after you do something fast, would there be a benefit in doing some stuff like slowing it down and feeling that muscle work? Do you do any of that, or is everything just fast, fast, fast? Like allowing yourself to feel that stretch, control the whole range. Yeah, but first start with fast.
I think there's a time and place for that. When they're first walking in the gym, let's be smart.
Okay.
Because I don't know this athlete. And that'd be stupid for me to come on here and like, yeah, we're going to do that fast too. Like, well, that's stupid and it's not safe. And I'd be pissed if it was my kid first day.
Yeah.
But through some evaluation and things like that, you have to start pushing limits in certain areas. So jumping's probably the last thing I push the button on. right? But I know I can get you on top of that 6-inch box and have you budge your feet with anybody in the gym. You know what I mean? I had everybody do that today, and then I start moving certain guys around. Well, that's not a week 1 drill, but I saw they were handling it. So you got to assess everything differently. When I had y'all on the 12, I didn't move you because y'all weren't ready for that.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? And so that's, like I said again, that's kind of the coach's eye. You know, those are those things, they're gray, the gray area that I go with my instincts sometimes, you know? And so I don't have a black and white science for that. I just know wrong and right. And if I'm seeing wrong, I'm not taking a chance.
Have you seen a change in people's demeanor? You know, like with these aggressive movements, have you seen them, change quite a bit with almost their personality?
Wow, that's a good question. I've never looked at it like that.
Kind of walk in, chest is maybe up a little higher. They feel a little better about themselves.
I never thought about it like that. I'm gonna be honest. I'd like to say, almost everybody that's one of these elite guys, they're pretty happy guys. I didn't look at that, man. That's a good question. Wow. Yeah, I've listened to Tony Robbins once. He was talking about, just projecting differently made people way more productive in their daily lives, and instead of hunching, good projection. So it actually changed their physiology, changed who they were. It changed their outlook on themselves.
Right.
And so with so many posturized things, I would think that there's something there.
I think for myself, like people watch my Instagram now versus like what I was doing 10 years ago, the heavy squats and different things like that. And they might think that I've maybe not put in a similar effort.
Yeah.
Because I'm jogging, and jogging is like a slower thing than doing like a max squat. It's not as intense. It might not look as aggressive. Maybe, when I'm running, I'm not like yelling, right? I'm not like making any noise because it's just not necessary. And it's not even always necessary in lifting. But a lot of times you do kind of, when you do a max lift or you take a set all the way to the extreme, you kind of end up making noises. Yeah. Almost without even doing it. It's like involuntary to a certain extent. But for me, the effort's always there. So to me, it feels the same, but to people watching, it looks so much different. And I think an athlete, as you were mentioning, you like to kind of see your athletes be kind of stone-faced during a lot of these exercises. What are some of the reasons for that? Like, why do you have the athletes, have such a kind of almost calm demeanor to this aggressive, violent style?
I really believe that what we envision in sport is gonna dictate a lot of what comes out. So even with you guys today, right? You didn't do the ball work, Mark, right? Okay.
No.
We did the ball work today. Notice with your fingers, toes, these things started to project all of a sudden. Yeah. Once you got on it, because it was just a different environment. You know what I mean? My goal is not, that's going to come with time. But what we need to work on is no matter what the environment is, because you don't know your opponent every week, no matter what the environment, we are going to have a sense of physiology that's going to create relaxation. My fingers, I'm not allowed to move them no matter what, no matter how violent, no matter how crazy. Yeah. Can't move them. Toes can't scrunch up. When I'm doing a drill, they have to stay smooth and relaxed. I create this. I create the person I am, but I'm still going to move violently. And I'm still going to be, and so it won't matter if I come in next time and I got 5 new vol drills I just created. It won't matter. That is who he is at that point. And so that is super important in the longevity of building the athlete from the mind, from the foot up. If that guy can't relax, he's just going to do things that are not in his character.
The face also seems to honestly project how hard you feel something is.
Yes.
It's like if you see somebody and they're doing a movement or they're doing something and their face is like, it's like you can also tell they're fucking, it's hard. Yeah. But when you see a guy and it doesn't look like there's anything going on, usually it also doesn't look like it's difficult for them to do.
You look at LeBron?
Huh?
You look at LeBron now?
Okay. What do you notice?
He looks slow and nobody can stop him. Doesn't he? He just like somebody, he just, I'm just like, how is he getting to the rim like he's 25 still?
Yeah, yeah.
He doesn't look anything like, you remember LeBron in his prime, he was guarding guards. And dude, he's just getting to the rim. I'm just like, this is unbelievable. He's more relaxed. The game is slow to him. He didn't have to over project. He knows just enough how much speed he needs to get to the rim. He's been playing the game so long.
He's efficient.
Yes. And so efficiency saves time. Save time. You don't have to be so out of control. And I think that's kind of what's kind of happened with Russell Westbrook. He was a very intense guy, but when you start slowing just a little bit, then all of that, it doesn't create efficiency. LeBron has been relaxed throughout his period of time through the game. That's usually what you see in basketball with the guys who last. They're usually a lot more relaxed.
Cool. Where can people find you, Coach?
All right, we got a couple places. So you can Instagram. That's where most of my content is, or TikTok. They're on the same name, so it's going to be Power Plus. That's POW3RPLUS, one word. And then the website is going to be the same spelling, www.powerplus.com with that 3 in there. So those are going to be the best places to contact. My contact information is on there. The online program is on there as well, 8-week online program. And it's on sale, right? You just bought it. I made a believer out of him, man. What about you? No, but you need to go on there and I would say, like, you get free drills. So you put your email into that column. That's on my IG, on TikTok, in the bio. You click that link. When you go on there, maybe we'll leave that link if you can, but when we go on there, you'll get 3 free drills. So you don't have to purchase anything. You just need to leave your email, go on there, get the 3 free drills. You can check them out for a couple weeks before you decide to purchase. Or if you want to just go ahead after you like those and you want to purchase, you can purchase right away. But I think that is a platform. The 0.15 video is a platform for I just don't see how, if you're trying to get into athleticism, you wouldn't have, like, it's kind of like a lot of things with the GOATA stuff. You just got to have certain things in your archive.
Yeah.
And so if I'm sitting there teaching you about how to absorb the ground and you're going to have lifetime access to that, we got to really, look at what we're investing in. Like, you guys invest in yourselves. Like, it's a beautiful thing. This experience in general has been great. But I can tell you, invest in not only your building, but yourselves. And, I got to take note from that. We talked a lot today, and the athlete does too. A lot of people are just scared. You see people like LeBron, they spend $1 million on their bodies. They don't have to. He's set, but he's going to spend $1 million on himself because look at the longevity. It paid off.
Yeah.
You were a teacher for 15 years. How did that help you in coaching?
Yeah, I would
Middle
say
school teacher.
One thing is empathy. I think that's a component of coaching. I'm not the same guy today as I was when I first started as a 27-year-old rowdy athlete, basically, right? I think it's timing. I think timing is big with teaching. Knowing when to turn it up, knowing when to tone it down, knowing when to stay in between. If you don't have those things, I think it's going to be really hard to be elite in any craft.
Strength is never weakness. Weakness is never strength. Catch you guys later. Bye.
If you guys enjoyed this episode with Power Plus, check out this episode with Ryan Doris. The reason we want you guys to check this one out is because Brian McGinty today talked a lot about Pilates, and we learned about Pilates from Ryan. Might be really cool. I think you guys are going to dig it. So click it right now. Go check it out. How's your day going? I don't care. Click the video.